the I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.
Will Rakkar. Dude, first of all, cheers.
Cheers.
You messaged me and said, can I bring you a Guinness? And who's going to turn that down?
Happy Weedster.
Happy Weedster. Yeah, we were just talking about one of the local comics that I really enjoy, Vinny Corrales. Has a great joke about how he was married on 4/20, which is also Hitler's birthday. And now today it's Easter as well. What a fun time. But, dude, thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Great to be here.
The last time, and I think the only time I saw you was when we did that recording with Joe over at his studio, which I think we said was about 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, about that.
God,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, that was with Space Prom release, I think.
Yeah, because that was one of the songs we did that, and I can't remember, is it Shark Bite or Shark Attack?
Shark Attack,
Shark Attack, yeah. I got to know, coming into that project, you hadn't seen any of the videos yet, right?
No.
We hadn't released anything yet. So I was curious, because I didn't get to talk to me in advance. What did y'all think before and after something like that?
Ooh, that's a very interesting question.
Because like Joe just hits you up and says, I want to do a random recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love Joe. I love what he's done with the studio. There's been so many incredible moments that I've had in that studio, so it's a very special place in my heart. Shout out, Joe. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. He was just like, yeah, there's not going to be any monitors. Just show up and do your thing. I
guess I should say, for people who don't know, Joe was really ambitious. He had a tape machine, and he wanted to record bands the old school style that was done in like the 20s or 30s, I guess.
Yeah.
Where you just put a microphone in the room, one microphone only, and the full band plays. And then the way you mix it is by turning instruments up or down or moving them closer or further. And he just asked me to video it while he did that. And so we were trying to do a series. So anyway, he hits you up and he's like, I've got this fun project.
Yeah, I was like, it sounds great. And then you had those lights. I don't know if you remember those.
I remember those lights. I made those, yeah.
We took those and we used those on our sets for like the next like 2 years.
Your drummer at the time, I told him, I was like, I don't want to haul all these back home. Well, because they were, I'm sure y'all tore them apart at some point, but it was just the LED strips in clear tubes.
Believe it or not, he kept them all intact.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So y'all actually used them on stage?
All the time.
That's cool. Well, that makes me feel better that they didn't just go to a landfill or something.
Yeah. We used them. We used them for like, I want to say at least a year and a half. So
wow, they held up that long.
Yeah,
huh?
they really did.
I had so much fun with that project just because, you know, I like some DIY stuff and be a little creative. And, you know, you learn so much with it. But those tubes, I remember building those thinking, these are going to be so terrible. These are going to be terrible. I was like, they're going to fall apart. They're going to short out in the middle of the recording or something. And somehow they made it. But I guess a year later, that's wild.
We were getting compliments on those things all the time. So just so you know, your handiwork.
Dude, I should make a little YouTube video for it, you know, how to build it. Wow, man, yeah, that was a fun day. So after it was all done, y'all still hadn't seen a finished project, really?
No, I think it took us a couple months before we actually got to see it. But
when you left there, were you thinking, no way, this is gonna...
Well, yeah, because what I was thinking was, man, like, okay, so you're in a room, right? You've got all your amps turned up, everything's loud, everything is monitored except for your vocals. So you're just praying that you're singing in tune. Like, I don't have perfect pitch or anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't think about that part.
So that was the challenge. But you know what? You, as a performer, you're faced with all kinds of challenges all the time. So just like do it.
Yeah, it was weird watching because I had the easy part. Like just filming it was easy, right? And Joe's having to really dial it in, and it was him and Rebecca at the time, right?
Yeah,
yeah, they were both working on that, and.
I mean, I saw you ducking and weaving and stuff. I mean, that looked pretty challenging.
Man, it was easy though, you know, because I filmed it. The whole idea was we were going to keep it simple, so I filmed it with an iPhone, and I just put that on a gimbal, and it was like, all right, well, all I have to do is make sure this gimbal doesn't freak out and just twist a weird way while y'all are in the middle of a great take or something.
Yeah,
you know, which that was the only fear, and then just getting rid of the embarrassment of doing that weird, like slow, like quiet ninja walk or whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it. Just crouching down, looking strange while y'all were trying to perform.
Oh, I think that it was during COVID too, because everyone had masks on, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
It was very ninja. You're right.
One of our bands, they performed with their mask on, like one of the members too. And I recently I re-looked at that video from a different band, Brave Little How, because somebody was asking me about simple recordings, and I was like, oh, here's what I did on iPhone. I loved it. It was fun. And he had one of the guitar players still had their mask on in the recording, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's right, that was COVID."
Yeah.
So it would have been probably like 2021 or something, I guess.
I think
right?
2021.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, that feels like ages and ages ago, doesn't it?
We did do another interview with you at your old space one time.
Did you?
Yeah. I think it was after Space Prom.
What? Am I blanking on this? Am I that bad? Was it in the Deep Ellum space?
Yeah.
How did I forget about this? My God, I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. It was obviously a very
That's
memorable.
right. The two of y'all came on. Oh my
Yeah,
God, dude, I can't. I'm so sorry. Anyway, well, what a great host. But
it's all good. You do a lot of these, so I get it. I mean, I'm the same way with shows. It's like I can't remember what I played last week.
I appreciate you letting me off the hook, but it's no excuse. But it does really feel like a whirlwind since then, because I think I've been in this space close to 2 years now, maybe.
Are you serious?
Maybe like a year and a half. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, they were going to raise the rent down at the other space, and it was fine. But there I was like setting things up, and then having to break it down every single time I showed up.
Yeah.
And when they decided to raise prices, I was like, man, I want to find a place I can just set up and stay.
You had to set up every time?
Every time. I had to set up and break down.
That's rough.
And but it worked out. I don't know if you've been down in Deep Ellum recently, but that whole street has been ripped up for like 6 or 8 months or something. And that would have been where we were at. And it's like the parking is terrible already, and then you rip a street up and it's even worse.
Was it off Commerce?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know what they're doing, but they tore it up a long time ago, and they're still working on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, since then, man, the band, y'all had huge lineup changes.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Well, I
mean, I know bands are tough to keep together.
Yes,
but yeah.
they are. And things change. And unfortunately, I was actually with the bassist in the band before, Panda. But as people change, things change, life changes, and that's just the nature of it, unfortunately. And that's part of the deal with being in a band. And after that initial lineup, you do your best, you look for the best people, but oftentimes it takes a lot of time to find the right people for the job. And I would say, as of last February, I finally found the right people for the job.
So did you have a couple lineup changes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I think we went through
Was the initial one, did y'all just split up and that was part of it? It's like, it is hard to be in a band together now? Or
Well, we split up, and I just couldn't be in the same... I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, who wants to be... Yeah.
I just couldn't do it.
It'd be one thing if you were already like, hey, we got this world tour.
Yeah.
And millions of fans are counting on us. You got to make it work. But at this point, you can definitely make a switch. That's probably healthy for both of y'all.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. She did say, well, I wanted to stay in the band. And I thought about it for a couple days. I was like, there is no way I could do that to myself. Yeah,
that's tough.
I'd be mean to myself, So.
Well, and I get it. You're going to feel bad that she wants to stay in and play. But realistically, that's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
It's rare people have a really so perfect... I'm not saying y'all had a bad breakup, but even if you have a civil breakup, it's rare to just be around each other that long in a project and make it work. It takes... I don't know. Can you think of... I can't think of anybody... I mean, like Fleetwood Mac, maybe, right?
Yeah.
And they still hated each other through the whole thing. It's like they talk about how much they hated. Yeah, that's what it's like. It wasn't good for anyone.
No.
Yeah, that's wild. But so, how many different lineup changes did you go through?
I think I ended up working with around 10 to 12 people.
Wow.
Yeah, before I locked into this iteration of the band. So
what? And you don't have to talk about anybody specifically, but was it just like just people not vibing together quite as well as you want, or schedules? I mean, there's so many things that can sabotage bands that people don't think about.
I mean, okay, so you're right. And the other complication is when you're in a band. Okay, so going back to being in a relationship with someone that you're in a band with, my advice is don't do it. Do not do it. It is a horrible decision. Because you with your bandmates, it's like having a relationship.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like you're kind of in a marriage. You're in a whatever you want to call it. It's like takes the same amount of mental bandwidth to be in a band with somebody, and then to compound that with having a romantic relationship on top of it. I mean, it's rough, and you're around these people all the time, and
were y'all living together also?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, she did go into work and stuff, but whenever she got home, I was like, "Let's work on some stuff," or and then it just wasn't a good situation at the end of it. But the first 3 years were great.
Yeah,
we were very creative together and got a lot of cool stuff done. But yeah. just don't be in a band with your SO. It's a really bad idea.
Well, that's like the old thing, like you never date somebody at work. Except when you're in a band, you don't view it as work, right? It's like it's easier to romanticize and like we're artists. We're,
I know.
We're together, we're in love, and like we're making music, and it's you don't view it as like I'm punching in to do a job. But at some point, it's like once the excitement of writing that new song wears off, it's like you're in a job now. You're thinking, well, how do we get shows? How do we record something? How do we make this thing bigger? And you don't get to turn it off and be like, you don't get to compartmentalize.
No,
and be like, we're in band life now, and now we're in our life.
Yeah,
it all just starts blending and getting ugly.
Yeah, it's tough. And the other thing is like when you're in a band with people who are maybe not quite so seasoned, everyone's seen all those like movies like The Doors, and they just like romanticize being in a band where like success just happens overnight. Yep. You play one great song and then bang, you're at the top of the charts. And that's just not the case, especially these days. I mean, like even if you have that big song, it's normally just a flash in the pan, and you've got to redo it again in a couple of months because it's just like people's attention span is not what it used to be. And I mean, like being in a band is tough because you write a good song and everyone agrees on it, and then you have to keep playing it and playing it and playing it and playing it, and then people get bored, and then the scene starts to feel a little stale as well because they're bored of singing the same old songs too, but you haven't toured enough, so you got to keep playing the same songs, and it's work.
I've talked to a few people about that on here. How there's like a couple steps between, like jamming with your friends and doing some local shows to success in touring.
Yeah,
and I don't really know what the answer is yet, but there's those steps missing where you can be like a regional act, right? Like it's harder to just be like. I'm not going to play Dallas and Fort Worth. I can play like a lot of North Texas, and I can dip into Oklahoma, and I can go down to San Antonio. It's harder to get that spread right now.
Yeah.
Even though you have more access than you've ever had to other bands and other people. And I don't know if it's just the clubs are struggling because, I don't know. It's like pick any Deep Ellum venue.
Yeah.
It's hard to be lucrative with bands at this level.
Yeah.
Even if you want to support them, it's like at the end of the day, you still got to get people there selling drinks, selling tickets.
Yeah.
It's hard, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. Maybe the cynic in me wants to think it's all the like the Live Nation, the corporations owning venues and all that these mega bands don't tour through those venues anymore. Because that would be when you could be a local band and be like, hey, we got whoever coming through, Club Dada or Trees, do you guys want to open?
We still get that.
Do you still get a lot of that?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
that's good to hear.
Like, luckily, we've had no shortage of like Live Nation's been very good to us. I mean, I hear all the stories. I know it's business is cutthroat, whether it's music or fashion or groceries. I mean, it's business at the end of the day, and it's tough. And I will say, as much as like I don't like everything that I hear about Live Nation, they've been very nice to us. And
so what was your experience then? What did you enjoy about it?
Well, what I would say is they would just reach out. Like sometimes it would be a month out. On occasion it's been like the day before a show. And so like we're a decent band and we know what we're doing. And I think one of the most important things you could do in a band is just be available. And so when someone like Live Nation throws you a bone and says, hey, we got this show tomorrow, it's opening up for a big band, do you guys want to play? Just say yes.
What are some of those opportunities you've had?
We opened up for, let's see. We got offered to open up for Inhaler. And then also Sunroom.
Okay.
Sunny Day Real Estate. Who else?
Which venues were these at?
These were all at the Echo Lounge or House of Blues.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, yeah. How do you... Man, let me ask you this. I've had the privilege of playing on that House of Blues stage before.
Yeah.
One here in Dallas.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That just makes me wonder how many local bands are even better than I think they are.
Yeah.
Because when you're up on that stage and you have these people like at House of Blues who do sound and lights 24/7 and they're just professionals locked in. They've never even heard your music, but they just know how to read what's I mean, it's like they're improvising with you right there. And you're just like, this is the absolute best we have ever sounded. And it's like, I don't know if it's all of it, like you're feeding off the crowd and they're pros, but it's like, man, how many bands, if you gave them that quick little spotlight, would they rise to that? Did y'all feel anything like that when you were on stage? Like that, oh my God, this is incredible. Not it's incredible that we're on a big stage, but like, we sound like this? This is us right now?
Yeah. You know, that it's such a great point, because like at the House of Blues, there's like 5 sound guys, and like 2 of them handle what's coming out on stage. 2 of them, like you'd think one person could do it, but there's 2 of them. Then they got 2 guys up at the board in the front, and then 1 guy who's just like checking in to make sure everything's cool. So you're like, okay, 5 sound guys is cool.
Dude, it was the first time in a sound check that we were not like the headlining band, we were an opening band, you know? And during the sound check, not only were we going in there thinking like, you know, we were going in there thinking like, okay, you're not shit, you're an opener. We're going to do a good job, but like, don't ask for anything.
Yeah.
Don't even take a bottle of water. Just like be cool. And we get up there and it's like somebody's amp's having trouble and they're like, oh, dude, I think your tube's messed up. Hold on, we got this other amp, man. Like, it's incredible. Actually, let me plug this in. Let me tweak it. Hey, you ever heard of this sound? Like, what do you think we do? Oh, no, hold on. Keep playing. And like, before you even ask for anything, they're solving the problem.
Yeah.
And you're like, God, this is the world with professionals.
Yeah.
Huh? This is incredible.
And you're playing out of like a tiny tube amp that's like maybe 15 watts.
100%.
And it's like, oh my God, I'm running around with a Fender Twin Reverb. Why? Why am I doing that to myself? Yeah.
Yeah. The amps, the amp that the lead guitarist at that time was using was a Fender Excelsior. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Haven't.
It's like I think it was like a 1x12 or 1x15.
Okay.
It was a little 15-watt amp.
Yeah.
It was literally I think it was just a volume knob and maybe a tone knob.
Yeah.
Just a plug in and go. And it was great, but it'd been kind of beaten up. Something was going on. And I think they gave him like this vintage Ampeg amp to play through. And it was like, God, you guys are so cool.
I know.
But yeah, I wonder, like, think of all the bands you've played with.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
No disrespect to these smaller rooms. You're doing what you can. But they can only afford to pay one sound guy. And it's probably somebody who's pretty good, but they're not running around with 4 other people helping them.
Yeah, definitely not.
And you wonder, it's like, man, if I just pulled you off this stage and threw you on that one, would you sound immensely better? Like, would you rise to that challenge, or is it just kind of luck of the draw? Yeah. Shrink, that's another good one. Shrink. Yeah, you could just crumble the pressure.
Well, you know, like that Inhaler show that we got offered, like I always kick myself for not taking it. I was going on a boys trip to Scotland, though. I couldn't miss it. So unfortunately, you know, I was trying to help other bands that I know, and I think that's always important, is to like do what you can for the scene and the people that, you know, who have helped you, throw them a bone too if you can. And like, I think I recommended like 3 or 4 other local bands that I thought could do it, and they all declined the offer.
Really?
And this is a huge band that's like taking off right now across the, like, I am kicking myself for not playing that show, but.
And you wonder what that band's thinking too, like, what?
Yeah.
4 bands have turned us down.
I know. Well, I mean, like they were apparently like handpicked us. They were like, we want these guys.
Whoa.
And I was like, that's a huge compliment.
Were you ever able to turn that into gigs later on, just with just being like, hey, we can't make this one, but you know, maybe in the future?
Well, Live Nation's always, they've kept us on their radar. So yeah, we've taken a couple shows after that. So
do you know the punk band Rancid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A long time ago when I played punk rock music in a band, we were here out of Dallas, and one of their bands was going through. There was a band called The Unseen, which was like a smaller punk band on the Hellcat record label. And we saw that they were going from like Austin or San Antonio to like Oklahoma City, and they had a day off. And so we reached out. We're like, hey, if they want to stop in Dallas, we'll throw a little DIY show together, and you know, we'll do what we can to hopefully sell some merch for them and stuff. And you know, and they were like, hey, you know, thanks so much. They actually need the day off. You know, the label responded first of all, which I was like, all right, cool, Hellcat Records, like. And they're like, no, they need the day off. We appreciate it. You know, maybe, you know, better luck next time or whatever. And it was like a year later, Hellcat reached out to us and was like, hey, we remember y'all set up that thing with The Unseen. You were trying to get that going. I was like, oh, yeah, sure. They're like, well, Rancid's playing in Dallas. You guys want to open up for him?
What?
And we were like, I'm so sorry. We can't do it. Like we, at that time, we were trying to do like a little summer tour.
Yeah.
And we had already had obligations. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, we're actually going to be coming through this way. And we're like, if there's ever another opportunity. And they're like, what about San Antonio? And then the stars aligned. The stars aligned. And we were actually able to go to San Antonio and open for Rancid.
That's awesome.
And I was like, just but you were just thinking like, man, how cool that there's somebody
Yeah.
at Hellcat Records like throwing you a bone all because you tried to help one of their band.
Yeah.
It's like, it just makes you feel like there are cool people in music. There are people doing cool shit.
Absolutely.
And it did not launch us to massive fame and success, but it's like a memory I'll have forever.
Yeah. They're legends, man.
Dude, legends.
Legends.
The worst part of it was we were so we made ourselves look so bad, not even with the show, just even before we showed up.
Oh, no.
So what we were doing is we were traveling around with the Warped Tour.
When was this? So this is Warped Tour. Oh, wow.
Old.
Like 05 or 06?
Had to have been around that time. I'd have to look at like when our EPs and stuff were recorded. It's been so long. But yeah, I would say probably like 05, 06. And we'd booked these summer tours up. And what happened was we realized, oh my God, we're playing these DIY punk rock shows in other cities. We're making like $50. We can barely make gas money, and we can't get to the next stop. And back then we could still sell CDs, so we were hopeful. And we planned our tours to where on like Mondays, Tuesdays, where we really couldn't get any shows, we were going to go to a Warped Tour stop and just beg out front for people to like buy a CD. That was our plan. Was just maybe we'll sell like 10. It turned out to be really lucrative. We were selling like 100 to 200 CDs a day.
What?
Yeah, I mean, which sounds like it was incredible. But also there was like 25,000 people a day at Warped Tour. So it was a very small percentage of people that were buying.
What was your pitch?
So there were lines out the front gate of people waiting to get in. They're all psyched for the show.
Yeah.
Okay. And we would just walk up. We each had a backpack full of CDs. Once we realized what we were doing, we made it our whole thing. We canceled all the shows. We just followed Warped Tour to sell CDs at the gate for a full summer. And we did it 2 summers in a row, and it worked out great.
Holy moly.
And so we each had a backpack with CDs. We went to a Walmart or wherever, bought CD players, and we were just walking up with a little portable thing and headphones, and we were just like, hey, we're this band, we play this out. You want to check it out? And, only 1 out of like 50 people would be like, yeah, I'll check it out. Most other people are just like, fuck off. No, fuck off. I don't care, whatever. But you just go, hey, no problem, man. Y'all have a good time at the show. Like, try to keep a good attitude, and you just go down the line. There's 20,000 people. It's never ending, And usually the people who put on the headphones were the coolest people who were like, I came to Warped Tour to learn about new bands.
Ah,
I
sick.
came to see
I like that.
And then they would listen to a few minutes or, 30, 45 seconds, whatever, and they'd be like, sure, I'll take it, yeah. And we were just charging, I can't remember how much we charged, $5 or $10, something in there.
That's great.
And so it was incredible.
So like $2,000 a day?
It was incredible. And we were so stupid because we didn't plan on making this money.
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't like, you've got Venmo and Cash App and these things where you can just throw it in the bank. Like, we couldn't deposit it into the bank until we got back down to like Texas somewhere where like Capital One was who I was banking with, right?
Yeah.
So we had a safe that was just bolted down into the van, and it was just holding like literally like $15,000 of cash.
Wow.
But I'd had this like this envelope system. It made the band really mad because they just wanted money every day, right? But I had it set up really well. Like, let's say we sold them for 10 because if a CD sold for 10, we put away 5 to pay ourselves back for the recording and the studio time and the printing, all that good stuff, right? And then like $1 went to gas, $1 went to buying you lunch and dinner, and then I can't remember what else it was. But basically, you would get the last $1 yourself, and then I set aside money for you for when we got home.
Nice.
So you were only making like...
That's very thoughtful of you.
You were making like $30, $40 a day.
Yeah.
But you weren't paying for gas, you weren't paying for lunch or dinner, and you're traveling around the country.
It's pretty cool.
I thought it was a pretty good deal.
That's an
But still,
awesome
they'd be
deal.
like, hey, man, like, I know we made more, though. Like, can I get some now? I want to buy this. I was like, I'm not going to let you blow your money at all these rest stops and truck stops and stuff. Like, just... And so when we get home, it's like I'm able to give them an envelope of cash. And they're like, oh, that's better, I guess,
You're like the band mom.
I was trying to, but it's like, well, you're pretty much the leader of this band.
Yeah,
I mean, so, it's like, artists don't like that type of control.
They
and
do not.
They don't want that. That's why they're in a band, especially a punk rock band. I'm like, well, let me talk about our finances. It's really punk rock. Like, fuck the system.
Fuck finances.
But anyway, so we were doing that system, and we were in. Somebody thought we were a Warped Tour band, and so they invited us to come play the show in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Cool.
And we were like, all right, yeah, hell yeah. And when we get there, they're like, fresh off of Warped Tour. Like they thought, and we were like, well, just don't tell them. And we're like headlining.
What?
Headlining, right? And I don't know if you know where Las Cruces is, but it's near El Paso.
El Paso,
right?
yeah.
So after that, we like stayed the night in El Paso, and we're like, we're going to get up and go down to San Antonio. And like, we're on this high. We're like, dude, we just did this like headline. They like paid us. They paid us before we played.
Really?
Handed
Okay.
us, yeah, they handed us like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And
Wow.
they're like, thank you so much for making the stop. Like they thought we were so much bigger than we were, right? And just very gracious. And the show was so much fun. And so we're in El Paso, and we wake up, and we're like, it's only going to take us this much time to get there. We wake up late. And we're like, no big deal. We'll speed a little bit. We'll catch up. And then we forgot that from El Paso to San Antonio, there's a time change, and you lose time.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
So now we're really fucked.
Oh.
And then as we're hustling, the van is overheating.
Oh no!
It's like all the problems, right? And we're just like, oh my God, we're opening for Rancid in this house going. And so we show up. Like if the show was going to start at 7, we probably got there at 5:36, and they wanted us there at like 3:00.
Yeah,
they want us there early.
Yeah.
And
so they're pissed.
Oh yeah, then the band doesn't care, right? But the venue,
Everybody else does.
What was the venue? I think the venue was called the White Rabbit down in San
Oh
Antonio.
yeah, I remember the White Rabbit. Yeah.
And we pull up, and we were in a black and red polka dot van.
Is
that
that
had
still
our name.
is that still there?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have to look it up. It was a great venue. I hope it's still there. It was
Me
awesome.
too.
But we pull up, and whoever the venue manager or whatever was, when they see us pulling in the parking lot, before we even like put it in, park the windows down, she's like, it's not fucking cool. All right. And she's like yelling at us. We're like, we're so sorry. And we're trying to explain that essentially we were on tour and we had van problems.
Yeah.
But the problem is we're in our van from Texas with a Texas license plate. So it just
She
looks like
doesn't
we're full of
believe that
shit.
shit. Yeah.
We're just full of shit, And she's like, your sound check's happening in your first song. And we're like, we understand. We are so sorry. Absolutely. So we're getting up there. And then just more weird stuff starts happening. It's like I open my guitar case and I go to strum and like a string pops. And, you're like, God. And no one wants to restring right before a show.
No.
It's all going to stretch and get out of tune. And but then it got really cool because like I don't know how much you know about this band, but Tim Armstrong, the lead singer, he sees our polka dot van and we've got all these punk rock stickers all over it. He's always filming stuff, doing like documentaries and things.
Yeah.
He just walks up to our van, doesn't say hi to us. He just opens the back doors and he starts filming inside the van. And he's climbing through filming our shit. And we're like,
what are you doing?
oh my God, it's so cool, man. Tim Armstrong's checking out our van.
Oh, it's so cool. Tim Armstrong's stealing our van. Bye.
And then the bass player who we really love, Matt Freeman, was just like chilling outside. And we're like, hey. And then the guitarist Lars is walking around just like shooting text messages. And so it's like I'm sitting there like trying to panic, restringing my guitar, but also not have my mind blown that these idols of mine are right here.
It's so cool.
It was really cool, man. And we got up there, we got through the show okay. And it's like, of course, at that show, nobody really remembers the opener, but we had a blast,
You just gotta rock the merch table at those shows.
We sold what we could, but as soon as Rancid took stage, there's no more of our merch being sold.
Really?
It's all Rancid.
Oh wow.
To their credit, though, man, their tour manager, somebody, they were like all super. I mean, just pros, dude, from the label down to the band, just awesome, right? And I'm sure it's the shtick they do at every show for openers, but they loaded us up with a huge bag full of merch.
Yeah.
And it was like shirts, vinyl records, like it was full. And they were just like,
awesome.
thanks, guys. And we're like, yeah. Yeah. Let's on another show. We'll be on time.
Did you ever hear from them again?
No, absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. You don't open up for a huge band like that, show up late, and expect to get another call.
That's true.
Kind of to your point, it's like, be prepared.
Yeah.
Be ready. And honestly, in that band, we had more work ethic than talent. Like on that day, we didn't show it. But normally we were very on top of stuff. So
that goes a long way, though.
Yeah,
work ethic. It's big. It's big. I mean,
if the talented local bands that I knew could just get a little work ethic,
dude,
they would be incredible.
I know. I see it all the time. We talk about it in the band all the time.
Who are your bands that you think are lazy? No, I'm just joking.
Ooh, where should I start?
How many great songs have you seen written around this town?
So many.
And the artist is just lazy. When you're like, what are you guys doing to promote it? And they're like, I don't know, man. What my favorite phrase is that I love hearing? I just want to see what will organically happen.
It's like you're hoping for a miracle.
Yeah.
Like I know it's Weedster, and cheers to that.
Cheers again, yeah.
But like those don't just happen,
No, never. The especially now, like the odds of anyone picking you out of a show and doing something for you. I think maybe the last person here locally to have a situation like that was Leon Bridges.
Yeah, and that's
it. I can't think of anybody else.
And and who before that? I mean, I can't even think of anyone before that. I mean, maybe like the Toadies. Nora Jones, maybe?
I would gather that the Toadies were probably booking shows and playing shows and working towards it.
Yeah.
They were just exceptionally good.
I see what you mean. Like picked out, like that guy's talented.
Yeah,
let's take him and make him.
I think Leon Bridges was doing his thing.
Yeah.
But I kind of saw that in real time. And people were talking about like, oh, there's this guy, he's got this old school soulful sound and he's doing it out of Texas. And I remember him playing like some shows at Club Dada and people like, he's going to go places.
Yeah.
It seemed accelerated like a couple years and all of a sudden he's a famous name, which that really that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
And I don't know if a label grabbed him or somebody here locally kind of pushed him to someone, but it did seem like there was someone who goes like, that guy's, he's got something.
Yeah.
And they made it work. But yeah, it never happens,
Yeah, for the vast majority of people, I mean, maybe like Justin Bieber, like that's kind of a story as well. Like he was just playing drums on YouTube, and then Usher's like, oh, that guy.
Yeah.
But like locally, I mean, yeah, I think you're right, Leon. I used to see him a lot actually around
Leon
town.
Bridges?
Yeah, I used to live I used to work in Fort Worth at this restaurant, bartend over there. He would come up to the bar. I was like, oh, it's Leon Bridges.
Man. Play it cool, right? Yeah. Secretly, you're like, I'm in a band. I play music. Yeah, if you're familiar with Fort Worth, then Magnolia Motor Lounge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I peed next to him at a urinal over there once. It just cracked me up because he comes in and he's Leon Bridges.
Hey, we're all human, right? We all do it.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't really get starstruck. But I was like, my first thought was, oh, that's cool. Leon Bridges is dropping into Magnolia Motor Lounge. That's pretty cool. He doesn't have to do this anymore, So I was like, he's supporting a scene. Fantastic. And he's wearing at the time, like, he's dressed up. He's putting on the Leon Bridges. He's got a hat.
Yeah.
And he's got a little bit of a crew with him, maybe like 2 or 3 people, nothing insane.
Yeah.
But they're also like dressed up like.
Yeah. Entourage. Like
they had a team meeting of like, we need to go out like we're Leon Bridges here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I go to take a piss at the urinal, and then it's like you hear the door creak, and I just see that hat like there's like a glare off the how they put like magazines in front of you, and there's like a case or something. I just see the hat with a glare. I was like, oh, that's funny.
There he is,
and he's right next to me, and you're just sitting there. You're like, well, this would be the worst time to be like, yeah, I like those songs, man. Those are good.
Actually, that's how I met Vaden from Toadies.
Oh, okay.
In the bathroom as well, and I was like starstruck too, and I was like, "Can I get a photo?" And he's washing his hands. Like, "Can we get out of the bathroom first?" I was like, "Oh shit!"
You're like, "Of course, yeah." I stared at him weirdly once, Vaden.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know it was him though. But were you living in Are you from Texas originally? I can't remember. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when they had that big explosion in West Texas down by Waco and the check stop? Remember all that? There was like a plant.
What?
There was some kind of plant, like an industrial plant, and they had a massive explosion.
Oh, I vaguely remember that.
In this little town. The town is called West.
West, yeah.
So West Texas. Yeah. And at the AT&T Performing Arts Center in downtown Dallas, it's like this beautiful outdoor stage. They put on a benefit concert to raise some money for them. Mm-hmm. And it was so last minute that you didn't really know who all was going to be on the lineup. Like, you kind of knew some bands, but then I guess people were dropping in.
Yeah.
And there's just some dude in the crowd who has like a cool shirt and an interesting hat and like an interesting look. And I'm just kind of like staring at him. I'm like, that's an interesting look, And then they like caught you staring, and I was like, oops, I'm looking away. And then it's like 30 minutes later, it's Vaden. He gets up on stage and he's playing acoustic songs. And I was like, oh, okay. That's like, I guess he's got that star quality. And I was just drawn to it,
He is an interesting face. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would say about it. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. But I mean, do you think that's the most famous rock band out of DFW, the Toadies?
Ooh.
It's hard for me to really grasp how famous they were.
Well, I mean, what defines a rock band? I'd say maybe rock band, but what about the Jonas Brothers?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? Like,
I guess that's a pop band, though.
Pantera's got to be as big
as
them.
Pantera,
bigger,
duh. Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, so we do get these success stories out of here then.
We do,
I wonder what the difference is.
I think it's, man, I'll tell you what, I think Arlington, and that's where Pantera's from, there's something going on in the water or something over there, but there are some really talented individuals that come out of Arlington.
Yeah.
Specifically. I don't know what it is.
Can you think of any good bands right now from there? Anybody who's shaking it up?
At the moment, not really. But what I do is I just start talking to people in other bands, and they're like, "Yeah, I went to UTA, and I come from Arlington." It's like, oh shit!
You know what it is?
That makes sense.
You know what it is about cities like Arlington and like those mid cities between DFW is like Dallas and Fort Worth have their scenes, and I bet a lot of them. I bet they have more angst. Like they feel like they get slept on a little.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They do.
And I bet that makes them want to like
prove themselves.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
I think you need a little bit of that grit on you.
You definitely do.
And then just like who wants to grow up next to, Six Flags and the Cowboy Stadium and the Rangers? It's like that's got to be like if you're an artist, you probably think that town has zero culture.
Yeah.
Right? That's probably a frustrating place if you're a musician.
I would say so, but then you've got like these like little enclaves like Caves and Sunshine and a couple of spots around town.
See, I don't know anything in those middle areas.
Caves?
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude. You got to check out Caves.
It's a venue, right? It's a music venue?
It's actually a dive bar. It's like a giant dive bar.
Okay.
And like there's like this really interesting like iron sculptures and like this crazy backyard. And people just go there. And they have like a residency that they do like every month. So they pick a band that they like, and they just throw them in there, and they start just killing it for a month.
Man, that's what you need too.
I think so. Yeah.
We're, over here in Dallas, the place that I love that does that is Sundown at Granada.
Oh yeah.
They'll give bands residencies, and they've been
That's
doing it for
great.
years and years and years. And you see bands get super tight after those residencies. Real important stuff. So Caves, huh?
Caves.
I'm gonna
check
check it out. Yeah, that'll be worth the trip.
It's good. They have like some fun pool tables and cheap martinis. Man, do you like martinis?
I will for that evening if you're saying they got cheap martinis. Yeah, my wife does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, just that's the stuff I think it's maybe that's the step that bands have a hard time finding are those venues, right? Because those are the ones you want.
I think so. And even if they don't pay that well,
no, it's about growing.
Like grow, man. That's so much more valuable than $100. Like, and that's at that level. $100 seems like a lot of money to some bands. Like,
yeah,
I remember when we just started out, we were playing shows for free.
Yeah,
and that's hard because you're lifting up. Like I still have the same amp, so it's still that same twin reverb, like, breaking my back and everything, moving it around. Showing up, taking a night off of work at the time I was a bartender, which was significant.
Yeah, you're losing money.
So yeah.
Honestly, though, did it even bother you that you weren't making the money?
Life has never been about money for me.
Yeah, but I mean, especially those early shows, you're like, hell yeah, we got a show.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Phantomelo's first show was at Growl. Do you know that brewery out in Arlington?
Oh yeah.
And they were so gracious and awesome, and they were like, "We love what you're doing," and we knew we didn't deserve shit because we didn't bring anybody or anything on the first few shows, and they were like, they're like, "Here's $200,"
right?
And they just wanted to encourage art and like people who were trying, and I'll never forget that. Shout out to Growl.
It's hard to get people to realize that like you've got to make an investment in the people when they're kind of shitty still, right? Because you guys know, like, if those are some of your first shows, even though in your rehearsal space or wherever you're playing, like, you guys feel like you're pretty good, right? And then you get about 4 or 5 shows in and you're like, we need some more practice, right? And it's like, but that's the normal path of a band. That's what you got to do. And playing like where you're, I don't know what your rehearsal space was like back then, but like were you all looking at each other kind of in a room?
Yeah.
So, it's like the little things of like, oh, we're on a stage. I'm not seeing you anymore. Yeah. And you didn't know that was going to be a problem until you were up there.
Right.
And you're like, oh, this room doesn't sound like this bedroom we've been practicing in.
Yeah.
That's a problem now.
Yeah. And the people I was playing with back then, Jeff and Panda, they really didn't have much stage experience from what I can remember. Maybe they did. But, Panda specifically, it took her a while to figure out how to dial in on the live show, and she actually became a pretty good performer.
I was going to say that's so interesting to hear that because from the time I first met her, she was already kind of dialed in on. I have stage presence. I know what I'm doing up here. That's interesting. But just showing you how quickly you can grow just by playing those shows, man.
That's it.
You were saying the first?
Yeah, like the first I would say 6 months or so, she was kind of reserved. But when you've got, like, I've always been someone who's like, man, I know, like, they call it a show for a reason, right? It's because it's visual. And if you're not putting in the visual, if you're not, whether it's lights or you've got shit going on behind you on an LED screen, and if you can't afford that, you got to do that shit with your body.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, it's a show. Put on the show. Because people are spending their Friday, they're spending $5 to get in the door, $10, $20, whatever it is. They're spending their time, which is much more valuable than any of that shit. So respect that and give them what they came for. And if you're just standing up there and just playing a guitar, like, boring.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree, because I feel like every year I get older, you feel like quality, no matter what it is just slipping. Right?
Yeah.
Not just with music, just in life. It feels
Movies.
It feels like it's so hard to find these people who care about it.
But one thing remains the same, and that's Guinness. Get you a nice dark Guinness.
Guinness has been quality for a long time. But
since 1759, actually.
But that's how you make it that long. You're talking about Growl saying, "Thank you so much. Here's 200," even though you didn't pay anyone, right?
Yeah.
That's a quality move, right? Where they know, like, hey, word's going to get around that if you play the show, we take care of you.
We support local ambition.
And the first thing that I hope that does for a band is go, that was too nice of them. Like, when we go back there, we need to be better.
Yes.
We got to be better, and we got to bring people, right?
That's exactly right.
So how many shows in do you think you were where you started thinking about, the performance rather than just getting through your songs?
I think, I was always about the performance from the moment we started the band.
Okay.
Like, I was like, first of all, we have to quality music. It doesn't have to be incredible, but it has to be good. Mm-hmm. And then I think when you've got like when you're very animated on stage, it becomes contagious. So I think Panda picked up on like, oh, that is working and it's really effective. What if I did that too? And then Jeff would start doing stuff because like he's playing the drums, so it's not like he can roll around on the ground with me and stuff. So he would start doing stuff like wearing a wig and like funny glasses, and sometimes he would like cross dress and stuff like that. And just like all together as a three-piece, we were very visually entertaining. Mm-hmm. And I would say that has also been the case with my current lineup as well. So currently in the band, it's Nunu on drums from Kyoto Lo-Fi. Mm-hmm. Aaron is on bass from Waking Snakes. And then Shane from Primo Danger plays guitar.
Wow.
So it's
a strong little lineup of people who've been playing, huh?
Very much so. And it's like, it's really great to work with. I don't want to be insulting to anyone, but it's like, it's a different caliber of musician.
Well, the fact is, if you had stayed with your original lineup, forget all the reasons you didn't. But if y'all had been playing together from then till now, you would be at this zone.
I think so.
But, you can't. It's like you can't force that stuff to work out.
No.
You can't force it to mesh.
A personal relationship or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and it's like, I've been in bands before where it's like my version of pushing hard is different than their version of pushing hard, and that causes you to butt heads, and it's just not going to work.
Yep.
And so, in a different situation, if they want to be, they'll also be that type of musician.
Yeah.
But if they're not interested in doing that right now, then it's not even an insult,
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
But like, it's been cool to see Aaron, the bassist, grow because like he plays in like alt country bands and stuff, and he's like very static on stage. Mm-hmm. But then he started to play with us, and then the same thing happened, and where he got like really excited, and like the difference between his stage presence in the beginning versus now, it's like night and day.
Yeah,
it's really cool to see that, and
cool.
And honestly, the same with Shane too.
Yeah.
It's just great. It's just great to see people grow. And I'm not saying like I'm the reason for it or anything like that, but it's just you can see an influence, and it's nice.
Yeah. I mean, how many shows have you been to where the band doesn't look like they're having a good time up there?
I would say most shows. You know,
whether it's nerves or maybe they are just having a bad time. I don't know,
or they're just like, I'm here for the paycheck, or
yeah. And I'm like you, right? It's like we all work hard for our money. And then, especially now, it's like we were talking about how we've got another kid on the way. So it's like getting a night out to do something is an ordeal now.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like if we found family members or whatever to watch our kids, and we're going down to Deep Elm, we're paying for parking, right? It's like before we've even watched a show, before we've even got a drink, we've probably spent about $50.
Yeah.
Right? Parking and tickets.
Yeah.
And so when that first band takes the stage and they look like they're like, I'm just not really into it yet. And it's like, buddy, figure it out.
Yeah.
Because this was our night tonight.
Yes. Yes. 100%. Yesterday, I went to the Mean Motors Scooter show.
Oh, yeah.
They opened up for, Babe Haven and oh my God, who's the other band? Well, they were both great.
Where was the show at?
Dada.
Okay.
And I took an Uber there initially, and I got there, and I pulled out my wallet to get in, and I forgot my ID. So
That sucks. Man,
Pay
so
for an Uber
another
back,
Uber.
and then another one back. So I spent $50 before I even got in the door.
Jeez.
And I was thinking that exact same thing. I was like, if Sammy's not fucking blowing up the stage right now when I walk in the door. Of course he was. And I was like, thank God. Worth it.
Sammy's coming back on here in like a month because I think they're
cool.
Putting out new music and going on tour with somebody. But I have watched them for, like well over a decade now, I guess.
Wow.
When I originally saw them, it was at Lola's out in Fort Worth, and they were a 3-piece.
Yeah.
And they had only put out their little EP that has the little red motor scooter on it. And I remember thinking like, oh, there's pretty good songs on this little EP. And my wife and I was like, let's go check it out, And I don't even think we were married yet. And we went to Lola's. It was one of those like dream experiences of a local show. Because Lola's then, they're not open anymore, are they? I think they've gone
I'm confused with the whole thing. I don't know. I think they've moved to where the Post is now. Is that?
I don't know. I know that location off of 6th, I guess. Is that right? 6th Street?
Has become the Post, I believe. I think it's called the Post now because the Post at the actual Post closed.
Okay.
I don't know what it is now. But.
Well, anyway, I just remember going into that, whatever that location was. It had the front room where you walk in, you're immediately in the venue.
Yes.
And they had a patio out front. Okay. And then you could walk out to a back area. But when we were there was no stage on the back area. It was just a patio.
Yeah.
Okay. So we walk in, and it was like, door person was super cool. Like, what's up? Oh my God. Checking IDs. Like, hell yeah, dude. We got local people on. It's going to be a good Everybody's pumped. The bartenders were like, you're a bartender. So it's like, you've been seeing those bartenders lately where it's like, hey, y'all know y'all are trying to make money back there, right? Like, get up here, get some drinks, make your tips.
Let's go.
Like, a little bit of chatter. We don't need to be best friends, but like, you have a cool job at a music venue. Let's act like it's fun.
Yeah.
And they were exactly that. It's like,
that's what you want.
Yeah. And like, I don't ever ask that you remember names or anything, but somehow they were remembering our names in this crowded music venue. I was like, these people are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't remember who the opening bands were. Everything was fine. But I do remember watching Sammy play. I even remember he was playing on this Alamo amp.
Okay.
That was like a loaner from Joe. And then Joe was using that big bass stack that he uses.
Yeah, the MPEG, yeah.
And I love a good, like, strong 3-piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
get a good 3-piece that's dialed in. It's so sweet.
Powerful.
And, Sammy's voice is pretty unique. And his style of playing and writing is pretty unique. And seeing that live, where I got to hear more than just the 2 or 3 songs on that EP where they went through a whole thing, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't believe this sound is this big right now. And even back then, he was just a true performer, you know? And then you talk to him, off stage, and you get to know him, and you're like, hey, man, how's it going? He's like, pretty good.
He's the sweetest guy.
Just
he's
soft-spoken.
very chill.
But when he's on that stage, he throws it in gear.
Turns into a monster, and that's what you want. Like,
I'm glad to hear they still have that energy after you've taken 3 Ubers to Dada.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
Definitely. Actually, I was playing with them for about 6 months. I was the lead guitarist for them for a while, which was a good experience.
Yeah. What did you learn from that experience?
I learned what it's like to be in a band where I'm not making all the creative decisions. And I mean, I can see why some people would want to do that, but that's just not how I roll.
You didn't like sitting back?
It's not that I didn't like it. I did like it because I could turn off my brain and just kind of enjoy being the lead guitarist and just have fun and like just rock out and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
But I think deep down in my core, I want to be creative. I want to like make some of those decisions and
you can say it. You like being in the lead. You like being in the front.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I like having some creative control a little bit. So
yeah, I was in one band that was like that where it was a good friend. They were a 3-piece, and I didn't even know he was playing and in a band, and he was one of those very introverted people. When like we were roommates at one time, he would like play his music in his room on a piano and record stuff, and it's like if you heard the front door shut, he was like turning everything off, like embarrassed,
Really? Aww.
Yeah. And then it was like years later, I'm seeing these clips of him, like he's playing shows, he's playing guitar, he's the lead singer, he's writing songs. I'm like, okay. So I hit him up. I was like, dude, you got to tell me when to show. I'll come check it out, And he was like, we've actually been looking for like another guitarist. And I was like, okay. But I had told him, I was like, I like we were talking about earlier, I have usually more work ethic than talent. And so I like to push hard if we're going to do it. It's really hard to get any opportunity when you're playing music. And so it's like, you got to go. And I was like, hey man, I would love to be in the band and play the parts that you write. And I was like, I don't want to really push like that. I just want to kind of enjoy it. I was like, if you're cool with that, we'll do that. And he was cool with it for a while.
Yeah.
And then it started turning into like, if you want to be in the band, like you're going to have more input and more stuff.
Yeah, like, you got to take a role.
Which it did. And then it went the normal route, which is I was like, okay, we wrote an EP together, or it was an album, but it was one of those weird where it's really not enough songs to be a full album, but it's a little longer than like an EP.
Okay. Yeah, like 7, 8.
Yeah, and loved it. It was a great experience, but it's like the natural headbutting of like, hey man, you told me you wanted to be involved, you wanted to push, you wanted to go, you want to like turn this into something, and now you don't even want to go like out to Deep Ellum and promote our show that's coming up in like a week. This was back when like paper flyers could still work,
They still do.
Okay, good.
They still do.
Glad to hear that. I haven't papered anything in a long time, but it's like, you would just go out and be like, show here, here's the band, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, like 15 people showed up that we talked to last week. And it all went pretty well, but in the end, what I learned was what I felt like was pushing hard, right, for me was not for him.
I see.
And what I mean by that is he genuinely was working the hardest he ever had. Like for him, he was pushing it. And then I'm this guy coming in going like, you're not working hard enough. Right, which just doesn't sit well, but it's just it's like the hardest you've ever worked is the hardest you've ever worked.
Yeah,
and we just had different levels of that at the time. True. And I think as a more mature person now, I probably would have understood what he was going through at that part a little bit better.
Right,
there's
always a way to say it right, but I always end up saying it wrong. I mean, that's my problem too. It's just like I always feel like part of the reason I became a musician is because I'm not so great at illustrating my feelings and my thoughts with words and just normal communication. So I do it through songs sometimes. And unfortunately, that doesn't always work out so great when you're trying to have a relationship with your bandmates and everyone else. So people can be understanding of that for a bit, but I think they get tired of it sometimes too if you're not working on it. So I'm always trying to work at being a better communicator.
Well, and that's where it gets weird to where, even when you're not in a serious relationship with the bass player, right? When it's just your bandmates, right? It's like, that one comment you made here and there, it's like they can kind of brush it off, right? But the longer you're a band, the more it's like you are in that relationship. Yep. And then it's like the next time you have a little squabble, they're like, and you remember that one time you said this shit about my guitar part or whatever I was doing? Like, what the fuck was that? And like, it's still under that. It's like you are in this relationship where these little fights will happen. And if you're both kind of that way, if you're both strong-willed people, these little petty things get thrown back out. And it's like, we're not even sleeping together and we're arguing like we're sleeping together,
I mean, you're right.
It was supposed to just be fun, man.
I mean, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And but that's part of how it goes. And that's why like that relationship with your bandmates is special, because it's very different from like your best friend or your coworkers or anyone else that you spend a lot of time with, because what you're sharing like a part of your soul with somebody, and that's very intimate. Whether it's, and like I said before, don't ever be involved with people in your band on a romantic level as well as working with them, because it just gets so confusing.
You're all being extremely vulnerable, right? Like,
absolutely.
Even if you're playing bass, you don't sing, you don't write the songs, but you're writing that bass line, and you want everyone to love that bass line in your band at least, right? You want like you probably worked. You're like, oh, remember that riff they were playing when you're at home? You're like, wait, I'll change it up a little bit to this, and then you come to practice and you're like, so I was working on the bass line a little. And everyone's like, "Oh, cool!" You're like, you're not even looking. You're just opening your case. You're like, "Yeah, sure, man. Show me what it is. What's the bass line?" And they start playing, and you're like, "Yeah, I think that'll work." And they're like, I was really hoping to say like it was super awesome or something. Like I know it'll work, but like like it's like that's in there. And so then later on they're like, dude, you didn't even tell me you love the bass line. You just said like it'll fucking work. You weren't even listening to it. Just all that stuff, because it's so vulnerable. It's like you probably worked on that for 2 hours at home. You thought everybody would be psyched.
You showed your cat.
Yeah. Yeah. You played it to whoever you were dating, and they're like, they're gonna love it. They're gonna love it. And it's just
it'll work, dude. Yeah, great. Let's plug it. Let's go.
It's all so vulnerable.
Yeah.
Nothing was worse than that same band I was in. The guy Andrew who was fronting the band, he was great. Great vocals, great writer, great guitar player, good musician. And it's like it was one of those little times where we just didn't sync up. Mm-hmm. He'd wrote this kind of very pretty song, and it was a song about love, and it had this kind of indie rock feel to it. And he had kind of one of those voices where you could do like a little bit of like swooning every now and then, like he could melt some hearts here and there.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
But it was all still with like a Jack White, Black Keys kind of feel.
With some graveliness to it.
A little bit, yeah. And he wrote this song that I thought, we're going for this pretty song. So I spent, like a couple hours. I was working on this solo. I had like a rough recording that he had sent me. And I was like, on this one break, we don't have anything. I want to make this solo, And it was all clean, like no distortion or anything. And it was like a very pretty solo. And I send it to him, and I'm like, dude, I've been working on this. I think it'll fit good. The song was called Climb Up Inside of My Love.
Ooh.
Yeah. And anyway, I sent it, and I was like super psyched, and it was like a quick, he wasn't even thinking about it, how it was going to destroy me, but it was just like a quick, like, it's not really what I'm looking for. And when we went to a practice later, he was like, yeah, man, I'm just looking, like the whole song is so clean and so pretty. He's like, I'm looking for something like kind of more gritty to this to balance it out. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Once we communicated, it was like, oh, I totally see what you're going for now. That makes sense. Yeah, that's not really great.
Was it via text that you had these communications?
Of course.
Yes.
Which is the worst.
That's always where it starts.
The worst. And he was cool about it. It's just I'm reading that text with the worst.
With a tone.
Because my soul is crushed. It's like he didn't tell me that was the greatest solo he's ever heard.
Is not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, they're going to remember this along the lines of Freebird and Stairway to Heaven, this solo. And so then I wrote a solo later that was more appropriate for what he was looking for. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is a better fit, But yeah, it's like how many of those moments go unspoken in a band where it never got addressed, and then it's just fuming, and it's like the band.
The resentment builds, the pressure, it balloons out, and then one day it pops.
Yeah. What it makes me really appreciate is when you see a band that's been together for like 20 years.
Yeah,
you're like, how did y'all do that? That's incredible.
Well, Fleetwood Mac, I think the only time they spent together is on stage. The rest of the time, they have separate limos. They stay in separate hotels. That sucks, though.
What do you think of the results of that, though? I mean, there's some pretty good music from that hatred.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not healthy, but the tunes are pretty good.
They are. They're classic. I mean, you walk into a bar, you're going to hear a Fleetwood Mac song at some point in that night.
I'd have to look up. I can't recall their albums spot on like other bands, but I wonder how many good albums they had while they were like that. Or if that was after their best work.
I think from day one, because what's her name? Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham were a couple before they even joined the band.
So they were already that way before the first album?
And then the keyboardist, what's his name? Is it?
No. The keyboardist is a female.
Yeah.
The drummer.
Christine. She died actually recently. Maybe a couple years ago, but she's brilliant too. And then, the bassist, is his name Peter Green? Is that his name?
I'm not good enough with that band.
Yeah,
to know all the names like that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they were together, and then the drummer was on his own. And then by I think the next decade, everyone had done enough drugs that they'd all fucked each other.
Just passed around. Yeah.
And so, I think it got pretty bad
70s.
pretty quick.
That sounds about right for a rock band in the 70s. We all shared. Yeah. I wonder though. It's like, if they were all, happy and everybody was getting along together. Because you see, even now you see those reels where, it would be a clip of Stevie singing on the front stage just staring down the guitarist.
Yeah.
And people are like, look at this
acid.
passion.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, they might not have had that if they were all just getting along. But still, it's pretty horrible. to live your life with that much anger while you're making millions of dollars and everybody loves you in the crowd.
And you're because it becomes like, why are you doing this? Is it because of the music, or is it because you just want money?
Yeah,
and money's
like this is all I know at this point.
Yeah,
what am I going to do? Go work at the bank?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know what I would do. I mean, it's nice. Money's great, right? We love money, but how much pain are you? It can't be that bad. I would think while you're on stage, it's like probably okay.
Yeah.
And then if you're not running into them after the show, there's like a big 8-ball of cocaine in every hotel room and stuff. I think, you're probably okay.
At the end of the day, right, we live in Texas. It's like if you go out here in August and you talk to that construction worker on the side of the road and you're like, yeah, I'm making millions of dollars, but like my bandmates, we don't get along.
Yeah.
Like, is he going to have too much sympathy for?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're making a lot of money playing music together. Oh, cool. I'm shoveling asphalt right now. Like, and
for minimum wage. And it's like, you're right. I have very little sympathy for Fleetwood Mac, honestly.
I mean, I got a little bit, but they were probably young, drunk and drugged out, and you don't make rational decisions, right?
Definitely not.
But still, it's pretty interesting. But how many bands have been like that? Where they just can't get it together, they fall apart. Somebody has to leave. Even if you don't love the band, it's like I was always shocked that the second bass player for Metallica, Jason Newsted, decided to leave that band.
Yeah, why would you do that?
He started another side project, and it didn't go anywhere because all you think of is you're the guy from Metallica.
I know.
And it's like, did you left? It was that bad? You couldn't just keep playing?
I know.
You're playing arenas. Like, they are legitimately
How bad could
playing,
it possibly be?
I don't know. I'd love to meet him and talk to him and get him drinking, hang out with him for a couple weeks, and then finally when you break down that barrier and be like, you really regret leaving, don't you? And see if he's like, yeah, it was the worst decision I ever made. Or if he's genuinely happy with it. Not how he would talk to me as a stranger, because we know how that's going to go. No, it worked out better for everyone.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
real talk.
When you see that new bass player, everybody loves him.
Yeah.
And they all like him, and he's doing that. And you were doing that, man.
Yeah. That was you.
That was you, dude.
You know who else did that? Was the bassist for Incubus.
Really?
His name's Dirk something or other. But he quit after the Morning View album. And you listen to those, and that's the height of their career.
That was the height, yeah.
And
how bad could it have been?
I don't know.
The only way that would make sense to me is if it's you slept with my wife.
That's the only thing I can think of.
That's it. Anything outside of that, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. Yeah, we had a few arguments. I can put up with that.
Even that, man, you're a successful rock musician.
Deal with it.
Maybe y'all just patch that up and y'all just have a little tripod every now and then or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is. You're our rock star, right?
Yeah, and Incubus, it's about free love and stuff. That was a very chill, hippie kind of band in ways. So even though it was a rock band,
I mean, it's a shame because everybody loses in that situation because he's such an incredible bassist, and honestly, I think the bassist is the backbone of the band.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say it's the rhythm section, the drums and the bass, but I think even more so the bass because the flavor and the thumpiness and the rhythm really just pops out from the bass, and it really and that's kind of the bottom standard of where your band is your bassist, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's the thing that you don't realize makes it extra special.
Yeah,
when you have a great bassist, they go so unnoticed.
Absolutely.
But if you pull them out, you're like, why do they suck today?
Yeah.
What's going on today? It's off.
And I'd never seen Incubus until after he'd left the band, and I was always like, it was okay. It was okay. And they you can tell they were trying. They did their best, but that there was just that unique flavor that he brought, and it's just wasn't there anymore.
It's hard to describe that to someone who's never played an instrument. That it's not that they're good or bad. There's a style.
Yes.
There's something that only they picked up.
It's a signature.
However they learn to pluck that string or hold that chord is just a little bit different than how I would do it. It's I could go learn every Jimi Hendrix song. I could spend my life learning it. It's never going to sound that way.
Yeah.
I think the only
you
person...
can learn note for note.
Yeah. The only person who ever got close to truly sounding like Jimi Hendrix was probably Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Everybody else covers Jimi Hendrix like a champ,
but
you don't sound like him.
No.
And you're so right. And on bass, that's even harder to prove because it's such a the unsung hero of music.
Absolutely.
Because if you're not up front wailing on a solo, people aren't really thinking about it.
No.
And
like guitars are so animated and stuff, and they go, like look at those hair metal guys from the '80s. I mean, it's just like provocative, But like basses, thumping away. Who else is great? I know Led Zeppelin. Everyone loves Led Zeppelin. But that bassist, John Paul Jones, I think he wrote most of those songs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love Led Zeppelin, but it's weird. As much as I love music, I don't go too deep down the rabbit hole on a lot of things like that, but I really should.
It's interesting because you'd think it'd be like Robert Plant and Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
But it's actually John Paul Jones who wrote most of that stuff.
I could see that, though, because, Jimmy Page, I watched... Oh, it wasn't a documentary on him. It was... have you seen It Might Get Loud with him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they're talking about how, like, when he was becoming a guitarist, he was doing all that studio work. And he was just in the studio working, like, 6-8 hours a day, and that's how he got so good. And so that would kind of make sense that he'd be really great at, like, following something you brought. Like, hey, I had this. Oh, yeah, that's great. And we could do a little bit of this.
Yeah.
But somebody else wrote the core of it. That would add up pretty well.
Genius guitar player, and like he came at it with like playing bows and stuff, and like just being totally weird, that's what you want. Like that's part of that show.
He I don't know that he's my favorite ever, but he is like molded me in so many ways because like the first guitar I ever bought was a knockoff Les Paul that looked just like his because I was in love with Led Zeppelin, but I didn't know it at the time what I loved about it. But then as I started to play, it was just like, man, there's just something so cool about the sloppiness that he had, where it's like the guitar's hung down low. Not every chord or strings hits perfect, but the songs were incredible. And it was just that was his style, his flavor. And you'll hear like guitar purists be like, he's sloppy, he sucks. And it's like, man, I love that though.
I love that. I love that on record too. Like you hear like the string noise, and you hear like Pixies are great at that too. Just like, I don't know. And I just hear the soul being transferred from your brain into the guitar playing, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah, because Jimmy Page could have gone back and done another take.
Yeah.
And he was like, I like it that way.
Yeah. And I really love that.
Yeah. That same I don't know what you call it. It's not a documentary. That same movie, It Might Get Loud.
Yeah.
Where when he starts playing some
it's
of those...
a rockumentary.
Thank you. But when he starts playing some of those iconic riffs,
yeah,
and someone like Jack White is now in a trance just going like, holy shit, I'm watching Jimmy Page right now, you know? And he was at the height of his stardom too. I mean, he still hasn't even fallen from that really. But and you just see him and he's still got that slop, but it's perfect. And it's like, God, that's what playing for 50 years looks like, or however long at that time. And just so cool. And then he's doing it on like he played, I can't remember what riff it was. Shit, what's that song? Is it Kashmir? Yeah. He's playing Kashmir for him, and he's doing it on like, you know, that old Dan Electro. And it's like, that's not an expensive guitar. We can go buy that guitar well under $1,000 right now, probably, right? But it's fucking Jimmy Page just cranking it out on an old Dan Electro.
That's the thing, man. You don't have to have that fancy gear. I mean, that's just for like collectors or whatever. Like, you can rock out on a shitty PV that you find at Guitar Center secondhand. Yeah. And a shitty amp and, borrow one of their cables.
Yeah. The intro to that rockumentary is still one of the coolest lessons. And you know what I'm talking about, where Jack White's building that guitar?
It's genius.
Oh, that's always my sales pitch of like when he's just sitting there, he builds that one string guitar out of plywood and a pickup, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's like, who says you need to buy a guitar? And it's like, fuck, rock and roll, baby, rock and roll. Let's do this. Let's write an album.
Yeah.
And, like it seems gimmicky to some people, but it's like, man, when you've played and you see someone doing that and you're like, hell yeah. And that's like rock and roll attitude of like, we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
Like you said, what's the shittiest guitar I can find and the shittiest amp? I don't want to spend a lot of money, and now we're going to write some music.
Dude, actually, I love it when I get to a venue, and one of them, no offense, would be Caves. It's actually a compliment, a huge compliment, because I love to get there, and it's like, oh, we don't have any monitors, we don't have this and that. And it's like, all right, my job remains the same. Is I have to put on a show that's going to entertain everybody in this room. And so I look at that as a challenge. Yeah. And I do everything in my power to make that happen. Mm-hmm. That's your job.
Caves is sounding better and better the more I
You
hear
gotta
about it.
go,
I'm
man.
gonna go.
You gotta go. I might ask you do another residency.
You should. Yeah. Well, when you guys were doing you did a residency there? How long would you play?
We almost did a residency
okay.
there, but I'm gonna see if we can get one wrangled in here in the next 6 months or so.
How long of a set do you think you can do right now?
Right now, I think we could do an hour and a half, but we could do 2 of those.
Are those all original songs that you're doing for an hour and a half?
Yes, and then we could sprinkle in another half hour of covers.
So if you've got an hour and a half worth of material, okay, you do not have an hour and a half worth of material released right now.
No.
So
I think we've got like 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. And so, like, what's the plan then for? I mean, everybody's got their own philosophy on singles and albums, But if you've got that much written, surely we've got to be recording more soon, right?
You're so right. We were actually in the midst of recording. We started recording not this last February, the February before.
Okay.
So we've been recording for a very long time.
Jesus, what's taking so long?
All kinds of stuff.
Did you become like a big rock star diva and just scrap it and like we're fucking starting
We
over?
actually did scrap some stuff, but it was not diva mentality, I promise.
Okay. This is not what I visioned.
Tables were turned.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, so we've actually got a release coming up on the 23rd of April. So it's our
Right.
first
Those are the tracks
one in
you
3
sent me,
years.
right?
Yes, sir.
That's the first release in 3 years?
3 years.
Man, okay.
Yeah, like, it was pretty bad, like, when the band ended.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I was like, shit, I actually thought it was over for a good, 3 or 4 months. And then I had people reaching out to me, and they're like, dude, you can't let this thing die. You're doing so good. Just find new people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reluctantly agreed to do that. But I'm really grateful to the people that did reach out and kind of inspire me to keep it going. Because I think I found something that works a lot better for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it took a while to find the right people. It took a while to take the songs that so when we actually broke up, we had actually recorded like another EP.
Oh, wow.
So we were sitting on that.
That sucks. So you were ready to go with something, but now you're
know.
thinking, what do I do with it? And are they going to be cool with that if we play this?
And I just thought about it, and I was like, you know what? It's just not right to continue with the recording. And those recordings are so fucking good. And like, I listened back to them, and I'm like, we recorded with Taylor Tash.
Yeah,
and
he comes up on this podcast a lot. Apparently, he's one of my favorite producers that I don't realize.
Yeah, he's really good, man.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I just came to realize, like, you can't expect to keep people in a band if they're not on the recording. If they're the old people, it's not them. They don't feel like they're a part of the project, and I was just like, it doesn't make sense to move forward with stuff that wasn't the people in the project now. So I realized we had to re-record, and we ended up scrapping a few of those songs as well, actually. Unfortunately, I really wish we had put it out, to be honest. But
well, here's the move, right? You do what you can do with this lineup.
Mm-hmm.
You make this work. Mm-hmm. You make this popular. You make it as successful as you can. Okay, and then the longer that time goes by, the more that I don't know if y'all ended on good terms. It's none of my business, but if you did, then time kind of heals all that, right? And everybody can kind of get along and stuff. Then you go back to them and go, we really want to do a special release of y'all's songs.
I love that.
Right? And it's totally like, hey, here was our original lineup. Yeah. Here's this cool bootleg B-side or whatever. That's just fun for your special fans who are totally into it, right? Yeah. It's not the thing you put out there going, it's a brand new release. Yeah. It's like, hey, if you've been a fan with us for a long time, check out this old original lineup recording. That way it's like, the people who love your music would really appreciate it.
I think they would.
And then the people who wrote on it would be like, oh, cool, it's still serving us, showing that we wrote on it. And it doesn't seem like you're trying to
be an asshole about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
And then it doesn't, and because I know what you're saying. It's like, whether or not that lineup is still together, you still feel like the three of you made something cool.
Absolutely.
And you don't want something cool to just die.
No.
So I think that's the move, is you just hold on to it for now. Don't get rid of it. And then when the time is right, just release it as a special little, hey, we made I don't know, like depending on where it goes, it's like, hey, we made 1,000 vinyls of this.
Yeah.
You know, just a little rare release that stays alive, you know?
Yeah.
That would be super fun.
I love that idea. I do, because, you know, there was something very special about that original lineup. And, you know, I do love those people. I don't speak to them, but I do really appreciate the time that they spent in the band with me. And, like, it's a very beautiful period in my life.
Well, the time I got to watch y'all, you know, clearly it was before things
Shit
went
went
whatever way they
sour.
went. Yeah. But it's like it was a moment where the three of y'all were dialed in.
Yeah.
And it's like being in a studio with my phone camera walking around, but like, you know, feeling the energy. It's like there's no crowd here, and the three of them are still locked in, having a great time.
Yeah.
You know, and so it definitely was a moment where it's like, okay, the recordings are there. You don't have to let it die. When the time is right, y'all can release it. And who knows? It's like maybe y'all get back on more speaking terms later on, and it's like
who knows?
Then it's like, hey, we're actually bringing them up on stage.
Yeah.
You know, to like,
that'd be so
you know what I'm
fun.
saying? It's like things can happen. You never know. So it's like just keep it tucked over there.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna do their own
That's
thing. You know, we'll be optimistic, but
And, you know, people are human, right?
right.
And people fuck up, and we all fuck up. I fuck up, you know, but I just don't want to live my life, you know, carrying ill weight around with me, you know.
Yeah.
It's just not my style.
Well, the recording you sent me, I mean, y'all definitely have. You can tell the style has shifted in a positive way, you know, and that's why wouldn't it with new players, right? But yeah, I'm excited. What made you? Are you releasing both of those before I start talking about it?
So we released it on. We released the regular version on the 23rd.
Okay,
and then a few days later.
Yeah, so this will come out probably like a week and a half, 2 weeks from now.
Cool.
So it's out by now.
So it'll be out by now. Okay, yeah. Cool. We're in the
that's
future
home,
right now.
right?
Woo!
The single is home.
Yeah, single's home.
Okay.
And we'll be doing like the acoustic version about 4 or 5 days after that. And
cool.
I'm letting the cat out of the bag now because by the time this comes out, it'll already be out.
Yeah.
But it's a secret at this point.
I feel honored. Thanks for letting me hear it.
Yeah,
in
man.
advance.
Yeah.
What made you decide to do both? Can I guess first?
Sure.
Did you originally write it acoustic?
No.
Oh, okay. That was going to be my guess.
No. I originally wrote it. Do you remember Kyoto Lo-Fi?
Yeah.
So I loved that band, and I'm really lucky I get to play with Nunu, the drummer for Kyoto Lo-Fi. Obviously, they're not still together in DFW, but it was my nod to them. It was my nod because I love what some of these local bands do. Like, I love the energy that they bring, and I want to honor them in my own way. And so this song was that.
Okay.
It was my nod to Kyoto Lo-Fi.
Nice.
But I actually like lyrically. It's about the real like homeless problem that we have in this country. You know, like I go to Deep Ellum a lot, and actually where I live, there's like people with tents living out there, and it just seems to be growing. And it's just a real sad. It just really strikes me because we're like the wealthiest nation on the planet, and we've got all these resources and everything, and we still have this subsection that's just completely neglected. And I obviously, like, I do realize like a lot of them are on drugs and stuff, and they have mental health problems, but I think that also the way that they've been completely abandoned by the government, the way that we're being trained to turn away from these people as if they don't even exist. Like, oh, if you see a homeless person, they come up to you asking for money, just ignore them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as if their hunger is going to disappear if you ignore them, as if their pain is going to disappear if you ignore them. And I think it's just so inhumane. I mean, I've even seen signs in Plano, fucking Texas.
Yeah.
It says, do not give money to the panhandlers. I mean, like,
they put them up around Dallas too, but you know, it's like Dallas police just aren't enforcing that.
No.
It's like the signs are up and somebody will be right next to the sign, but yeah.
And then there's like these encampments, and you see them one day, and then like there's like maybe like 5 or 6 of them kind of near where I live, about a quarter mile away, and then one day they're all gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there thinking, where did they go? And who kicked him out of this public place? I don't know. It's a tough situation.
I know what you mean because, I've always had a lot of sympathy for that, especially from when I was younger. And then my viewpoints morph a little as you get older and you have kids, right? And it's like part of it's maturity, part of it's fear. It's like you don't want something bad to happen to like your wife or your kid when you're somewhere. And so you notice it more, right? It's like if me and my wife were walking down through Deep Elm,
steer clear.
Yeah, well, now, or when I was single and it's just me and it's a homeless person, it's like I don't really have anything to fear. It's like I don't have anything for you to steal. I'm not saying you would, but if that was my concern, I didn't have that fear at that time because it's just like you're more free spirited. You're like, hey man, what's up? How's your night going? Yeah, here's a buck, sure, whatever,
Yeah.
And then, but then when it's like your wife or like we took my son down there. Just during the day, there was like a skate shop down there, and we're like, oh, he's going to like seeing Deep Elm. It's going to kind of blow his mind a little bit. And it did, but there is a couple times where we're passing by something, and you're like, oh, man, please don't let this be like a sketchy thing.
Yeah.
And so definitely, like, I'm guilty of my views morphing a little bit, but...
I think we all are. And, like, I'm not saying that I don't have those feelings, too.
Yeah.
I mean, like...
But at the end of the day, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like you said, we have the resources in this country to do something about this, and I don't know what the cynic in me, it's like, I don't know what the political... gain is by not addressing this, but it feels like is somebody benefiting by not dealing with this?
I don't know.
At least in the state of Texas, it's like I don't know who would benefit, but
it just seems to be growing, and no one's doing shit about it.
Well, and we spend money in ways on it that doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So I can't remember the exact term for it, but it's something like aggressive architecture or something where like you'll notice like bus bench stops. They'll have the rails so you can't lay down.
That is so disturbing.
Right. And then the areas under bridges, right, we'll put like the big sharp pointy rocks, we'll fence it off.
Don't lie here, you homeless asshole.
And
I guess is the message. I mean, I don't know.
Well, and it's like, look, the older version of me, it's like, I mean, I don't like that, but I also don't want a homeless encampment under this bridge.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? And why is it falling on me as the taxpayer to figure this out
and to pay for if he wants $1, why is he coming to me?
Well, and I think more of if we're spending money on these rocks under bridges, building these fences, rounding people up every 3 to 4 months, I assume what they're doing is they're either taking them to jail for the night or taking them to a homeless shelter for the night, just clearing them out, right? It's got to be one of those, or I don't know. I'm not going to say
who knows,
but
I've been wondering.
But point being, like you're spending resources on it,
yeah.
So there's got to be a way we can allocate these resources better. Mm-hmm. My personal thought, I would love to at least try it anyway, is it's from what I've kind of understood is during the Reagan administration is when they started getting rid of mental health facilities. And that seems to have a correlation with the rise of homelessness. So
wow, I didn't know that.
That's what I've kind of come to understand. And but yeah, there was something that was going on then where I don't know what the correct term for that is. I don't know if you call it a mental institution or a psychiatric ward or whatever, but people who had those issues, right? Mm-hmm. Now I guess they don't really have a place to go. So it's like you either take them to jail, take them to a homeless shelter, but they're not getting that treatment.
Yeah.
And I think because I graduated high school in 2003. So that's like 9/11, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've seen a lot of these people, it's like they've gone to war in serious wars and they come back, these veterans, with all these issues, right? And so that's a huge chunk of our homeless population too. Real mental issues, and there's not a great place for them. It's like, yeah, they can go to the VA or something, but I don't know that they have the resources to deal with that long term. And maybe they do, I don't know. But point being, it seems like it might be worth investing our money back into facilities like that, right? Where if somebody's schizophrenic, we can grab them off the street, get them on what we think the meds are going to work, and see if we can balance them out. The hard part is I don't know if everybody agrees on should you institutionalize someone like that, even if it's not in prison. Like if it's in a facility like that, should you institutionalize them, or is that inhumane? I tend to think it's humane. It's like if we can keep you from harming yourself, if we can feed you meals, others. That seems like the best choice in a bad situation, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's to leave you out on the curb talking to yourself. I mean, you see that, right? You're at a stoplight and somebody's just having a conversation. Nobody else is there. And it's like, what are we going to do about this? You know, like you said, we're just going to take them to jail. Well, how's that going to work out? You know?
I mean, they're in there with other people, and you never know what they're going to do to them. And
but to me, it seems like, okay, we could spend money on just like, when we round them up, let's now go, okay, what are the specific issues that we need to deal with here? And then that's got to be the solution, but I don't know. It's a tough conversation.
I mean, how bad would a 15-minute consultation be with like a, licensed mental health therapist be? I mean, to just be like, hey, this is what's going on with this person. And yes, obviously a lot of them are addicted to drugs and stuff, but it's also goes hand in hand with the mental health. And we're in a crisis with mental health.
So I guess
at this point in this country.
So, let's talk about like the person who's on drugs, right? If you're just addicted to drugs, you can't break it, and that constantly puts you out on the streets, right? Then the question is it more humane to force you to basically live in a rehab center, or should we let you just live your drug-addicted life as a homeless person? And I don't really know. Like, to me, as someone who I feel like I've got my life relatively together, I feel like, no, we've got to get you in rehab and sort that out. But I'm sure there's other people who are like, that's not your choice. And it's like, but also like they're sick and living under, out in the, I mean, I don't know. It's tough.
I mean, the answer...
You don't want it to be there, but you don't want to like force anyone to do anything.
Exactly.
But then I kind of want to force people to do things. And so I don't know where I land on that,
It's complicated, I would say. But what's frightening to me is how little anyone seems to give a shit about figuring it out. Like, there's no steps.
No.
With like immigration and stuff like that, there's people that are working to figure out what we need to do with immigration, right?
Right. Yeah.
Illegal and not.
And whether you like it or not, there are people taking action, right?
Yeah.
You can agree or disagree if you like that action, but people are going, this is a thing we got to work on.
Yes.
Right.
And they're not doing that at all with the homeless situation.
Well, I think it ties into it, but I was just talking to somebody last week about this. I'm very upset that we are not having any conversations about healthcare in this country, right? And that goes hand in hand with this homeless issue.
Yeah.
Because I'm not loyal to any political party. Okay, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. If you got a good idea, I want to hear it.
Me too.
And but I did love the way Bernie would talk about healthcare and how we could. I think his messaging was wrong. I think his PR team kept telling him to say free. Yeah. So everyone's like, nothing's free, and it's like, but it's easier to say free healthcare than to talk about
America's free.
Yeah, but it's like it's easier to say free healthcare than to start talking about how we're going to allocate our taxes and make it all work. And which he did many, many times talk about that. But now that he's out of there, okay, and now we're back to more kind of like corporate establishment politicians, no one's discussing healthcare. They might be discussing pharmaceutical companies, but they're not talking about how like if you have health insurance right now and you want a procedure done in America, it's like, you've got health insurance, right? You've paid your copays, you've got your deductibles, and then like the day before your surgery, they're like, hey, I know you need that surgery, but we need $600 for the facility fee. Yeah. Right? And if you don't pay that tonight, like we can't do the surgery tomorrow. Yeah. And it's almost like they're hustling you into like, they wait till the day before because they know you're afraid to not get your surgery done. And then it's like, okay, you have insurance.
Or they bill you afterwards. And you're like, what is this shit?
Yeah. Well, and that's the other part, right? So they're like, well, your insurance covered the procedure, but it did not cover the anesthesia, surgeon and anesthesia and the facility.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think we need all of those things to have the healthcare part, though.
It's very expensive.
Yeah. And so no one's talking about how there's this hustle going on.
Yeah.
And it's like this big cat and mouse game where, the insurance companies don't want to pay. Mm-hmm. So the physicians are like, well, I guess we have to bill you separately so we can get paid.
And then they rack up a crazy bill too.
Right. And now you can't trust like who really
has your best interest.
Yeah, because you think like, well, the physician needs to get paid. They went to medical school and they're doing the thing. But then you also wonder, it's like, well, yeah, but are they like triple charging me right now? Like, is this the ethical price? And I just wish somebody would put healthcare back into the conversation. I feel like it's just no one's even discussing it. And I think if we could fix a lot of our healthcare system, I bet a lot of that homelessness would go away.
I think so.
You know?
And I think I think that may be even the root of the issue is, I mean, I don't know at all, but, you know, I just would like to see it brought up and talked about just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, because nobody wants it. Like, nobody wants to... Well, first, there's two aspects. Nobody wants to be afraid of a person maybe... Because here in Dallas, it's like, you know, there's like a couple of those like Dallas Instagram pages or something I'll follow. And it's like, yeah, you see some woman in her SUV at an intersection and some homeless guy is like on top of her car, shirt off, jumping up and down. Who knows what is happening in his mind? And it's like, yeah, what do you do in that scenario?
Yeah.
This person's just trying to drive somewhere. This person's having a mental freak out.
Yeah.
Nobody wants either person to get hurt.
Yeah.
But we can't tell if somebody's about to get hurt.
Yeah.
She could freak out, hit the gas. That person could fly off and hit their head on the ground. Or that person, whatever crazy mental episode they're having, they could think the only way I can fix this is to kill this person in the car right now.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? And but everyone's just like, whoa, that was crazy.
Good thing I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Not my problem. Shit.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
But like that's the whole. That's where the root of like the emotional origin of that song comes from. Is that callousness, that dismissiveness towards another human being. It's inhumane. And
do you feel like did that start coming to you because of like your own experience feeling that way towards someone, or did you see someone else feeling that way towards a homeless person, or like what was the kickoff to that song? Do you remember? You know,
okay, this is very strange. I've never had this happen to me before, but consciously I wrote a song about homelessness because I just kept seeing these tents popping up, and I you know, on tour you're traveling to those other cities and you're seeing the same thing happening, and it just seems like this is prevalent in every city you go to. There's homeless people, and they all seem to be experiencing the same things, whether it's Oklahoma City or Tulsa or Dallas, San Antonio. They're all doing the same things, and it just kind of looks like no one's doing shit about it. And the way that you are taught to react to these people is the same no matter what city you're in. So consciously, I wrote the song about that experience. Subconsciously, I wrote a breakup song. And I didn't even realize that until I had recorded the song. And I was like, holy shit, like this is how my ex talked to me when she broke up with me. And these are the things that I felt. You know, it was very crazy. Like my brain like played a little trick on me.
Yeah.
But I love that as well because it's like a double meaning, and it's like, I don't know, it's powerful.
Well, hopefully that catches on because of that. You know, hopefully people kind of hear it a couple different ways.
Yeah,
you know, this song means this to this person,
and that's what
person.
That's what music's all about. Is like having you have your own personal interpretation of it, right? Yeah. But yeah, it was just so crazy, and I really noticed it on the acoustic version more because like the words really pop out more.
Yeah,
and I don't know, I listened to it. And like the evening that I finished it up, I was just like reliving that whole experience, and like the emotions came all back up, and I listened to it on repeat, and it was just like, wow, how the hell did my brain trick me like this? You know,
I mean, that's the wild thing about any kind of artistic endeavor is it sounds like it's one of the cheesiest, most cliche things you can say, and it just sounds like, ugh, gross. But really, there are times when you're playing and you're just like, that wasn't me. I don't know where this came from.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize I was doing this. It wasn't intentional. And it feels, you know, how many times have you been playing something or maybe humming a melody and you're like, God, I got to get this down now.
Yes.
Because you've had those moments where you forget.
All the time. Dude.
And you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that. It's just blah, 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 out there all of a sudden. And then sometimes you wrap up a song like that and you just think, that's weird. That wasn't me, but now I feel like it's every bit of me.
Yeah.
And you tell someone that and you're like, it's not me, but it's me. And they're like, God, you're so lame, dude. But it really, if you play, you understand.
I definitely know where you're coming from. Because like I feel like that too. Like I feel like my whole life I'm an antenna. Like I'm a receptive. Like I've got it up, and when these ideas make their way to me, I am obligated to capture them. And if I don't, it's like I'm throwing them back out into the universe. So either get it down or say goodbye. Because if I've woken up in like at like 2 a.m. just like melody, and like Space Prom, for instance, that popped into my head in the middle of the night, and I was like, I have to get up and record this now or I'm going to forget it, because there's been so many times where I've got that idea. I'm like, oh, I'll remember it tomorrow morning.
Gone.
Nope.
Yeah, no matter how much it's like, thank God we have cell phones with like voice memos and stuff now, where you can just get it just real quick.
You don't have to like jump on your computer and start recording. But
well, I mean, how about just like writing a riff? It's like you'll be noodling around, you'll find something, and you've got it perfectly for like a minute or two. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to piss real quick. I'll come back and work on it. And all of a sudden you're like, where did it go? Where did it go? And it's just gone. And you're like, well, you know, and of course you're like, yeah, that was probably going to be like the hit that took me to, like, that was the one.
That was the $1 million song. Yeah, I mean, my voice memos, I think I've got like something like 4,000 ideas just sitting there.
You make me feel better, because I have a ton of voice memos and I'm not even actively playing.
Man, it's bad. And you know, like, actually Tempest, I had that idea, I recorded it, and then I didn't actually record it or show Phantomelo, the other people in Phantomelo at the time, until I think it was like a year and a half after I had recorded that voice memo.
Wow.
It's funny because like I would find myself going back to it, and I really went, like, I traveled. So I sailed on a boat with my dad from Guatemala to Houston.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and during that time, there's no internet, right? So I was like, on night watch, I'd just be sitting out there. It's like pitch black everywhere. You're just covered in like this incredible eternal darkness. Feels like you're floating around in space, because like the ocean is black as well.
It's
and
just
the
reflecting
sky,
black.
Pitch.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's like you're just floating in space. It's very trippy. But I would have nothing to do. I mean, you're keeping a watch out for like other lights on the horizon that could be a ship on a converging path. But I would just take out my phone and just go through my voice notes and be like, which one should... What are the 20 ideas that I have out of this? I think at the time it was like 2,000.
Wow.
What are the 20 ideas that I can find out of this 2,000 that I think I could do something with? And I think actually out of the 2,000, I only got through like 500 or 600. But Tempest happened to be one of them. And yeah, I mean, I just, those voice memos are great, but I mean, like, it's no easy task filing your way through, especially if you're just like I mean, I feel like I'm constantly having ideas, and I really appreciate that. I'm really lucky in that respect, but not just taking them down doesn't really always end up making those ideas come to fruition.
Yeah, but it's that crucial step though of like, I got to start taking things down in volume before I convince myself to sift through the next step. You know,
you're right.
Like,
I'm overdue for a sift sesh.
I'm going through something similar now where it's like I've been doing all these voice memos, and but I haven't been committed to like starting up a project of any kind. You know, and it's all the normal excuses. Like, first of all, it's like I don't know who I'd want to even like play in a band with. It's like I know all these musicians, but I don't want to cross that boundary with them, because like we're friends, and all the stuff we talked about how quickly you can mess up that friendship.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And I don't even know, like, I don't know what the style is that I want it to be. It's like I just have these ideas, and because these ideas have kind of drifted over, 6-7 years of whatever, it's like all the styles are a little different. But I like that. I like that there's these differences, I guess.
I love that, actually.
Yeah. But then I went through this thing where we have a smaller home, and it's like, so I had, at one point, my way of kind of just testing out different guitars and things. It's like I was doing that whole game where you're buying and selling guitars and amps. It's like I'm going to play on it for a little bit and then sell it. Play it, buy one, play it, sell it. But I had amassed, you started doing all the gear collection that you always do, right? Where it's like, well, I really like this guitar though, so I should keep this one. And then you don't sell it, and all of a sudden I was like, I got all this equipment.
Guitars.
Yeah, I was like, I've got all this equipment, but I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then something clicked, and I just sold everything. And all I kept was one acoustic guitar.
Okay.
And so I've just been playing on that for like the last 3 or 4 years. And I was like, when the time's right, I'll get another electric.
Yeah.
And I just want to play on this. I don't know why. You just pick it up. You don't have to plug it in. It's not taking up room in the house. And
don't need an amp.
Don't need an amp, yeah. And then, but then I noticed I was starting to really write and play on that more. Like, you know, if the wife's not home and you got the house to yourself, it's like you can sing loud and you can kind of be yourself and do all that. And I was like, and now I feel like, man, I'm kind of writing things that I really want to write and talk about, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't really know what that looks like if I was to put it together in a group of songs yet. You know, like I love albums. I love themes of albums. And so I was like, you know, if I'm going to come back out here and make something, you know, why? Why do I feel like this even needs to exist? You know, if it's just for me, I can play it in my house, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm feeling like I want to put it out, well, what is this going to be for other people? Why are you going to do this? Why are you so, like, why do you think someone needs to hear this, Travis?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, so I'm about to turn 40. And
hell yeah.
My wife was like, it's next month. And my wife was like, you know, what do you want? She wanted to go on like a nice trip and all these things.
Oh,
I was like,
saw this.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to go on a trip. I don't want to do those things. I don't know. And I just been itching for this guitar. And I didn't realize it, but I'd screenshotted a picture of this Telecaster like a year ago because I was like, ooh, I really like this. I like this color. Yeah. But in my mind, I was like, I'm like you. I like the cheap equipment. It's like I've never had anything more. Like the last Telecaster I owned that I really played was a made in Mexico Telecaster that I bought for $150.
All mine are made in Mexico.
Yeah, and when I sold it, I was like, I could sell this for like $350, but I paid $150. And you know, guitars have like a little magic in them. Yeah. So it's like I loved this guitar, and the guy before me loved this guitar, and I was like, I'm just going to sell it for $150 again, and so somebody else can have that magic or whatever. And like even people when I was selling it online, they're like, stolen, it's stolen, you know, because it was $150. And I was like, no, here's pictures of me playing it, like it's legit. So yeah, I saw this Telecaster and it was like $2,000. And I was like, I'll never own that expensive a guitar. And she was insisting on buying like a nice gift if I didn't want to do a trip. And I was like, you know, if you're willing to drop money on a trip like that, I was like, I've really been wanting this. And then I looked at the website; it went on sale, so it was a little cheaper. It's still too expensive, but it's you know it was a little cheaper. So I was like, "This is a time." And like they stopped making. They made like a newer model or something. Okay. So this one was like back stock, discounted. They're not going to do the color anymore. I guess I was like, "Is this a sign? Is this a sign?" And so we bought it.
Texas T, right?
Texas T. Yeah, and I'm in love with it, but it's got that feel where yes, it's nice. It's the nicest guitar I've really owned. Even when I was buying and selling, I had guitars that were expensive, but I didn't really have a connection with them, you know? Sure. And but this is the nicest one where I felt like, man, I really like this. There's something here that I'm enjoying. And so now I'm getting that itch of like,
got to get a nice amp too.
I'm already looking at an amp.
What are you looking at?
I've never done the, it's a nicer Fender guitar. And I love effects and things, but I also love just plugging straight into an amp.
You can't beat it. It's pure.
And I think some of my favorite guitar players are the ones who just control the volume on the guitar. Crank the amp, you know, to break it up, and then just learn how to work your guitar through, you know, your attack, through your volume, and then make your song emote based off of that. Yeah. And so I'm looking at this Fender Vibrolux, which is also because nice. I feel like if you're going to get an amp, go ahead and get some reverb. Yeah. I don't want a pedal, so I don't want a reverb pedal. Okay. Just get some reverb. So this amp has reverb, and then
it's that classic spring reverb, I'm sure. Yeah.
And my favorite effect ever is tremolo. Just amp-driven tremolo.
So gnarly, isn't it?
And so it's got it, you know. And I was like, okay, I think
that's enough. You got the foot switch, right?
It'll come with a foot switch, yeah.
And the two nipples.
Yep. Yeah. And I was like, you know, I think we get a nice amp, and then what are you going to do now? It's like you got a nice amp, nice guitar. What's your excuse? You know, like you know how many people could create so many great things with this setup. Yeah. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to go like
Jimmy Page could rock that?
That's what I'm saying. Are you going to go? Yeah, but I really need like that fuzz pedal before I do this. You know. Yeah. And so I think that's going to be my goal is make this simple setup, albeit a pricey one. It's simple, you know, and go like, okay, well now it's down to you playing music and writing your songs, and let's see what you're going to do with it. Well, you know what? I think I don't think you should worry too much about who you're playing with. Just start recording shit. I think, I'm trying to decide. I can record something no matter what, but I think it's been so long since I've played live. I need to get back in that groove and figure out like who do I even want to be when I'm playing up here, you know?
Yeah.
And so
that's a great question.
Yeah, like what am I trying to do with this?
Yeah.
And who's that person, right? And so I think I might go like the open mic route.
Open mic's great.
I think I might go that route and just start feeling out what do I like doing.
Well, then you'll meet people in the scene that are out and looking for the same thing you are.
You know, I'm fortunate. Like I sent a couple recordings to some close friends that are musicians that are actively playing. You know, and of course they're all supportive. They're like, oh yeah, go do this, go do you know. But it goes back to that original vulnerable. You're still like, yeah, but I want people to tell me like I need overwhelming praise to tell you you're fine to commit to that. Which is the dumb way to do it. It's like no one's going to give you that because
absolutely not.
Well, and everybody cares about their project.
Yeah,
they're hoping you're doing that to their project.
Dude, the way that I think you should think about it is like no one's going to love it like you do.
Yeah.
So just if you think it's good, get up there and fucking do it, and don't apologize for shit.
No, I really like it. To be honest, it's I'm starting to see these themes, you know, like kind of the stuff we were talking about a little bit like with the homelessness stuff. I've noticed I'm having a lot of angst with it's not like a working class thing, but it's like just companies, man. Just greed is just fucking everything over.
That's like another part of my bane.
Right. And so
the corporate shit.
You know, some people gave me some notes on like a song I sent them, and they're good notes because some of the lyrics will be very specific.
Yeah.
And a lot of songwriters talk about going more vague, right? And I think that that's great advice, right?
Yeah.
To broaden your appeal, you know. But I'm one of those where it's like I kind of like you ever hear an old song and you hear an old specific reference and you're like, wow, that's to that time.
Yeah.
All the stuff we're doing right now.
Old McDonald.
No, but you know, you hear somebody being like, you know, I went to the payphone.
Yeah.
And it's like there's no payphones anymore,
that's
right?
True. Yeah.
And or like just calling on a phone. Everybody texts now. Nobody calls. Like nobody called you about that.
That's true.
Right. And those things sound so old fashioned.
Yeah, they do.
But at the time, that was a very modern thing.
Status quo.
Yeah. You know, there was a time when you could say, like John Mulaney has a great joke where he was like, so from my house, I called Blockbuster Video, which is a very old fashioned sentence.
Yeah. I called Blockbuster Video.
And the great John Mulaney. Anyway, so I was some of the stuff I was writing about that was specific to this experience I'm talking about. It's like they were saying things like, "Hey, don't mention like Instagram. Maybe do something different." It's like I don't know, man. Like to me, Instagram's going to sound like the payphone in another 10 years. That's going to be an old timey thing, and some newer, younger person is going to be romanticizing like those simpler times on Instagram before we had the holograms that
before it was in our brains.
Yeah, and it's like because I was thinking about guys like I love them, no hate, just the example that's coming to mind. Charlie Crockett here from Dallas.
Yeah.
Another one who got out and is doing it.
Yeah.
Love his stuff. Nothing but great things to say. But I do get a tiny little chip on my shoulder with some people where they're like you're in modern times, but you're kind of it's hard to say without sounding like a dick. So I apologize, everyone. I'm just going to sound like a dick.
Right.
I think there are people who love older times and they want to play that way. I think that's probably Charlie. Okay. But there are other people doing a similar shtick where they're wearing the clothes, playing the music because they think it'll sell.
Yeah.
So they're writing like old timey lyrics, like I picked up my gal in my pickup truck, and like it's like no.
Dude, nostalgia is rocking this world.
Yeah,
right
and it's
now.
like, dude, I think you drive a Corolla.
Yeah.
And it's like that's fine. Like you can be a cowboy in a Corolla, and it's not going to bother me.
It's a state of mind, bro.
So it's like, why are you trying to? Because okay, I heard all those Bob Dylan songs, and he sings about those things, right, or whatever. It's like, yeah, but that was his time.
That was 60 years ago.
Yeah. Write about your time now.
Yeah.
It will inevitably sound old-fashioned.
And there's so much fucking drama, it's unbelievable.
How could you not have material right now?
It's crazy.
So, I don't know. That's just kind of what I was thinking about. I got some good opinions, and then that always sets you back because you're like, what am I doing? Even though it's good advice. I know. It's my process. This is how I do things.
You do it your way, man.
Well, what happens is I go through the motions, and then I fully commit. And it's just the
Fair
process.
enough.
You know what I mean?
You got a process.
It's a process.
You trust the process.
Once I decide to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm already in my mind. I'm like, I could do 3 albums, each one themed this way. And it's like, yeah, man, but first you need to go like write the song, okay?
Yeah. Step 1.
Yeah, first you need
tune the guitar.
Yeah, you got to do something before you release this album you don't have.
Yeah.
But it, it makes me excited. It's like something about just getting a new guitar,
Absolutely. I do the same thing. So whether it's a new guitar, a new effect pedal, new microphone, or the latest thing has been my wireless guitar setup.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
Game changer.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God, I love it. I can't believe I ever lived my life without it before.
You have freedom now.
Yes, I can run around like a total dick. But when I get something new, I just get so excited about it. Especially like effects pedals. Like you have infinity at your fingertips. And that is what gives me the biggest boner of all time. It's like I get to touch infinity. I get to like do something that I get to dial in an effect that has never been touched before.
Yeah.
That's exciting to me. I don't know why. Just like endless possibilities are just very exciting.
How many pedals do you have right now on your board?
Ooh, that's a great question. It's about as big as this table.
Really? That big? Oh my gosh.
But half of the pedals are like boutique.
Well,
big
sure,
ass.
but that's still, you're over 10 pedals at this point.
I would
right?
say right around 10.
Okay.
And do I use all of them? No.
But you might. But you might. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, man, my era of like rock music, included Rage Against the Machine with Tom Morello and
the
his
whammy.
effects.
Yeah.
Well, and just people
I have that
taking an effect to an extreme
Yes.
just for the sake of taking it to the extreme.
I love that.
That's fun.
That's what I want. I don't want a fucking touch of reverb. I want you to send me to fucking space, dude. Fuck that subtle shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know who's good at subtle things? A studio audio engineer. That's who, because they're the ones who are like, actually, that delay needs to be more like 10 milliseconds.
Yeah.
Instead of the 15. And they're usually right.
Yeah, of
it's
course
that
they are.
it's that nerd who he read 4 articles on delay before he went into the
He
studio
calculated
session.
the formula.
Yeah, and it's like that's who's great at subtlety is the studio people. They're the ones when you come in and you're like, so I'm sending it to space, and they're like, here's how we're going to adjust it.
Oh no!
Like, no, I know what you're going for. Let me tweak it. Here we go. Okay, but yeah, I mean, I think if you're, look, I love the all that era, right? So it's like Tom Morello. Jack White did it in his own way of like, it was simple, but he was really ripping apart those octave solos and everything.
I love Jack White.
Yeah.
I love him. I'm sorry, I just totally spit
You're
on
good.
you.
We're both excited.
Yeah, I'm like frothing. But I love what he did with the gate. I think that is so creative, and like it's such a boring fucking pedal, and he made it so powerful. He used like an octave distortion, and then like the gate.
Yeah.
Genius.
I thought for a long time that was just some picking style he was doing. And then when somebody showed me that, I was like, oh my God. I was like,
I know.
It's subtle. It's cool. It's his own thing. Like now you can pick out that's a Jack White riff.
Yeah.
That's a Jack White solo. And again, not the best player. Not like he's never going to be remembered as the greatest technical guitarist ever.
Yep.
But he will be remembered as one of the greatest guitarists.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that one song, Seven Nation Army.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, it's insane. My wife sent me a video of my son at daycare, and they're having a dance party. Okay.
To Seven Nation Army.
No, well, yes, but it was some children. It was a Minion song from Despicable Me. It was a Minion song, and they're doing all their stuff, and then the breakdown is bam, 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 bam,
Yeah.
bam, and it's just done on a weird little sound, and it's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Jack White's getting royalties from the Minions.
Okay, so
that song is that deep now. Like,
I think that song he tapped into. If there's a collective consciousness, he tapped into it. He tapped into something that like resonates with all of our DNA. I mean, like I'm a big EPL fan, the soccer, and every single. I don't know if it's every single game, but it sure feels
Most
like
of
it.
them, yeah.
They're playing that fucking song, and
if they don't play it from the stadium, the crowd just starts chanting.
They just do it in the middle of the game. I mean, there's
high school bands playing it, and those kids don't even know what that song is before the band director shows it to them.
Absolutely.
And then they're like, oh, it's like a rock band,
Yeah.
It's like, and then they love it.
Oh, from the late 1900s.
One of these old 1900s bands. Yeah. Have you ever heard him talk about it too? Like when he talks about making that riff?
I actually have not really watched too many interviews with him.
Yeah.
But I have seen him in the Raconteurs.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw the White Stripes. I really wish I had.
I've seen him as his solo act, and he'll do some White Stripe songs, and it's great.
Cool.
And but I would have loved to have seen Meg play live.
Yes.
Because again, that's that slop. It's her style.
Absolutely.
She's the Jimmy Page of drumming,
Yes,
you know?
sir.
Like is she the best drummer? No. But was she
She
perfect
don't need to
for
be.
that? Yeah, it was great.
And she's just having a fucking blast. Her hair, she's just great.
Yeah.
Great.
And something about somebody who simultaneously looks like they care and don't give a shit. It's weird. It's
Very
weird.
true.
But yeah, he was talking about making that riff on some interview where he had something, he was messing with it, and he was in like a sound check and he did it. And somebody who he was close to in the sound check, I don't remember who it was like, keep working on it or something, And in his mind, he was like, I think it's pretty good. Fuck him or whatever. But it was just kind of a random, like a noodling thing, I guess. And then
noodling, we'll bring it out.
Yeah, somebody told him it was bad, and he thought, I'll show you or something, and then it turned it into that.
That's a big part of being in a band these days is like that fuck you attitude and being a shark. And like, everyone, there's a lot of like people that are very nice to each other in the scenes in Fort Worth and Dallas and shit. And I think everyone's very nice and it's cool. It's uplifting, but I would like to see a little bit more of like, fuck you, and a little bit more like, let's go, let's fucking outdo each other. I want to see that a little bit more.
There are times on this podcast I want to, like, someone will reach out to be a guest, which I'm very thankful that people are reaching out to begin with. It makes me very happy that people want to do that. But some people do it with an attitude of like, so what date am I coming on or something, right? And like, you want to be, I'll politely tell people like, thanks so much for reaching out. It's just not a good fit for me. And, if you put something out in the future, I'll happily take a listen. Like, please send it my way. And then they'll try to take that conversation. And you just be like, hey, man, I think you fucking suck, is what you want to say. But it's like, I don't want to crush go do your artistic thing. But talking about punk rock music, it's like I remember Fat Mike from NoFX when he was on when he still does, but at some point with Fat Records,
they're on their last tour, right? NoFX.
I think they ended it already. It's gone forever.
Do you think it'll be gone forever?
They were selling shirts for their reunion tour already on the end tour, like joking about it. So
well, I hope it comes back.
They were definitely making it seem like, oh no, we're definitely going to do the thing where we come back later.
The Kiss thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And like my dad went to the Rolling Stones final tour back in the 80s or 70s or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, some band wanted to be on his label, and the band had kept the note that he mailed back to him. And he didn't give any reasons. He was just like, you guys are very fun to hang out with. I do not want you on my label.
Ooh.
Like, I like you, but I don't want your band on my label.
Yikes.
And that band, I can't remember who it was. I feel like it was... I feel like it was like AFI or Alkaline Trio or somebody.
Someone big.
Someone bigger, yeah. I can't remember exactly who it was, but someone who like had a career, and it's like it didn't hurt you. But that honesty, isn't that what you want?
Yeah,
it's not
it
for
is.
me.
It is.
And I talk about this with the comics that come on this show, because the stand-up comics, some of them, but mostly the improv people that do, I've like stand-up more than improv. And it's because the improv people are over.
Wait, could you tell me I'm not sure what the difference is.
So, stand-up comedy, right? You got a person up there who's doing a set.
A routine.
Yeah, like I prepared a set. Like
I see. Okay.
I have 20 to 30 minutes of jokes that I've been working on for a couple of years, or I have an hour of material I've been working on. And you can pull from different material whenever you want, but it's all basically pre-planned, right?
Right, okay.
Improv is like a troupe. So like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 people go up there.
Oh, okay.
And we're just going to rip. We have nothing prepared. So it's a skill. Like when you see somebody do it really, really well, it's a real skill. Most of your people that go on like Saturday Night Live or Mad TV or any of these sketch shows have a strong background in improv.
Okay.
Okay.
I actually took an improv class in high school.
There you go. Yeah.
And like some of the stuff was like, I want you to like tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Like tell it. I want you to. The story is like you're gonna go to the store. You're looking for the milk and you can't find the milk, and you're gonna ask like 3 different people, and I want you to do it in Italian gibberish.
Yeah.
And so you'd have to do that, and then they're like,
Yeah.
okay, now after you've completed that, you're gonna do that same routine, but you're gonna do it in reverse. That's just hard.
Well, I respect the craft.
Yes.
I understand it's hard, and I think it has its place. But I've been to enough improv now that I'm usually not interested in watching it unless someone's telling me like, "Hey, this is pretty high level," and then it's like, "Okay, I'll pay for a ticket."
High level.
Well,
Okay.
what I mean is like we've gone to lots of friends' improv shows where it's like their first improv show,
I see.
or their
I
10th
see.
improv show, and they're not great at it yet. But you're just supporting.
Yeah,
It's like,
of course.
Personally, I'm kind of done going to those shows.
Yeah.
But if you were to tell me like a cast member from one of these big shows was coming through to do an improv set, I might want to check that out.
Sure.
But my overall problem with improv is they're overly positive. Like, great job, great work, that was awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
You guys, how was the show? It was incredible. And then some of the stand-ups do that. Their go-to phrase is like, you killed it. Oh, you killed it, man. Great set.
Yeah.
And you'll see people coming off stage and everyone's just like, hey, dude, great set, great set, great set, great set. And, as a fan, sometimes you're like, because I'm in this weird world where I'm not one of them, but I go to a lot of shows, and because they come on the show, and I've produced a couple little comedy projects that now I'm kind of in their world, but I'm not one of them.
Sure.
And I don't pretend to be. And, but you are like, I don't know, like, that sucked. Like, but you don't want to, you can't say it. But I think they would benefit from hearing that from their own people, not from me. But I think rather than going like,
people don't want the truth.
man, you nailed it, just being like,
I think
tough night,
I think,
tough night, huh?
I think there's a certain type of person that can take that kind of criticism, and
Yeah.
I think it's someone who has been on stage before, maybe have been not so graciously received by an audience.
Yeah.
Like to me, like when I come off stage and someone goes, "Oh, you killed it," I don't give a shit what else you're gonna say. I want to hear the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear what you thought was good, what you thought was bad, what you think I fucked up on, and what you think I should be doing better on.
Yeah.
That's the shit that I want. I want constructive criticism,
Especially from a peer.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
I don't want to hear like the bullshit
Mm-hmm.
because I get a ton of bullshit from a lot of people.
Yeah.
know?
Wouldn't you like to hear like if you came off stage and someone was like, "Did they have your monitors dialed in?"
Yeah,
And you'd be like, "Why?"
yeah.
I don't know, man. Just this
Like,
part.
tell me more. That's the one. That's the person I'm interested in talking to. Not
Right.
like, dude, that was so awesome. Like, I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate a good vibe always. But the constructive criticism is so much more helpful.
Mm-hmm. Well, because the reality is, I love the DFW music scene. I think there's always good stuff coming out of here.
Definitely.
I think a lot of people. This would go back to the type of conversation I would have with that bandmate who we ended up butting heads a lot towards the end.
Yeah.
Because I felt this way about them. I feel like a lot of people, because they're afraid of hearing that, because of all the things we talked about, you're so vulnerable. It's it's so hard to write and so scary to put it out there. And if you judge me at all, like if you think my solo is not good, like I'm going to crumble. But I think a little bit of healthy self-evaluation so that you could improve.
Absolutely.
I think we'd have a whole catalog of people where you're like, there's all these people who are on the cusp of being really great bands. Really great bands. They're just almost there. And I don't know what that last little sprinkle is to make you to, and I don't mean famous. I just mean, wow, that was a great song.
Yeah.
Or wow, that was a great live show. Or wow, that was a great album. Like somebody sent me an album recently to check out, and I actually had to send it to Joe. I was like, hey, man, am I hearing this weird, or is this recording fucked up? Like, what's going on? And somebody released it on Spotify. It's out there. And he goes, oh, yeah. He's like, they have so much compression. It was like every time the kick drum was hitting, the whole mix was dipping down. Whole mix, And it's like, none of your friends told you, hey, fix that? Everyone let you put that out. And it's one thing if you just didn't notice it. That's fine. Maybe you're not. Maybe
you should know it. You should know that.
I'm just saying it was a more beginning entry level band. So it's like maybe this was your first time you've ever recorded, and you think I don't know, but someone should have told you. Someone should have told you this engineer fucked up, or if you did a home recording that you need somebody to take a look at it or something. And instead they were like, we just released this great new thing, and I had to be like, hey, this is not for me, man. So sorry. Best of luck.
Yikes.
And because I'm not in a place to be like, hey, I think somebody fucked your recording.
Yeah, but they should hear that, right?
Yeah, I know, but I think I need to earn more respect. You know,
I don't think so. I think a candid voice
yeah,
goes a long way, and especially coming from someone that doesn't even fucking know you, that speaks volumes about your recording. I mean, because like honestly, the voices I trust on the least are those that like from people that care about me the most, because they want to make me feel good. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that. I love them, but I want people to tell me how it is,
right?
Because that's important.
Yeah.
And I realize like people aren't going to like every single thing that you put out, but you need to like quality of the song and the recording needs to be at a certain standard.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not saying like your artistic choice, you know. Write your song, write your weird song. Don't listen to people about that. You know, it's literally just the fundamentals of like, is your show boring?
Yeah.
Does this sound like does it sound listenable when you perform?
Yeah.
That's all. Because at the same time, it's like, I think people should be getting weirder with their music right now.
Absolutely. I'm so, okay.
You know what I mean?
I'm glad you're saying
Take the
that.
chance, because like, oh my God, think of any groundbreaking artist, you know, if they had written the same way as everybody else. Like right now, I feel
Jimi
like,
Hendrix in the 60s.
that's what I'm saying. Anyway, like all these great people, it's like they were totally different. And if you had asked somebody, God, who was talking about this? Some famous person. This is not my original thought. Shit, who was it? I want to say it was like Frank Zappa or somebody like that. But they were basically saying like they were almost arrogant about it, saying like we show them what they want. You know, we don't.
It's
ask
Noel
them.
Gallagher.
Is that who it was?
It's Noel Gallagher.
Okay, yeah.
I refer to that quote often.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I don't particularly like him.
I fucking love him.
I hear you. But I think what he said there was true. He's like, nobody would have said we would like Nirvana.
Yeah.
Nobody would have asked for that. They didn't know it yet.
The consumer doesn't know what he wants.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think he's a little...
He's arrogant as fuck, for sure.
Yeah, and just, I don't know. For me, he's a little too cool sometimes. But I will 100% give him credit on that. Like, that was definitely... That's accurate. It's like, do your thing. Just unapologetically...
Lean in.
Write your song... Okay, and then just try to make that as best you can. But yeah, get real weird, which is odd because he wrote such just like regular indie rock music for him to be like, go outside the lines.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It's very like Beatles, very chill.
Yeah, but you know, some of my favorite people, it's like we were talking about Tom Morello, Jack White. You know, if somebody else had given him guitar advice on how to play, it would not have been.
You need to dial back and actually just take the gate off your pedal setup. It would have been it would have been awful.
Are you guys going to get a bass player anytime soon? What are you doing? You need bass.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people told him that. Thank goodness they didn't listen.
Yeah.
But you wonder what bands out there right now. It's like, hey, we don't have to say any names, but you'll hear someone release a track where you're like, this is a song you think people like, right?
Yeah.
Is this really what you wanted to write, or do you think like we wrote this? We think this will be kind of like a single hit, and then we'll play our music that we want.
And I think that's a trap. I think it's a mistake.
Big trap.
And I see it. I see it a lot. I've fallen victim to it a few times myself. No one's perfect.
Yeah.
But you've got to realign, and you've got to say, you got to stay true to yourself as an artist, and you've got to just like say, I need to go out and be myself, because that's what people want. They don't want to hear the same shit over and over again. But at the end of the day, it's not really about what they want.
Yeah.
It's about you expressing your weird.
Yeah. I think music needs to get real weird.
I think so. We need more weird.
Well, and there's a lot of good weird music out there, but it's tough to find it because it's just oversaturated
with the normal shit.
So at the same time, I think we need like tastemakers. Like, God, if I had more money, the things I would do, But like, I think these labels are so afraid that they won't make money and they'll go under, and that's a legitimate fear if you're a record label out there. I understand.
Makes sense.
But you gotta take the risk.
Otherwise, the world loses out.
Yeah, when it's like the risk is what's going to make so much money.
Well, look what's happened like in recent years. Like the weird shit's coming from like Korea, like Gangnam Style, for example.
Yeah.
Like what a weird fucking song, but
And
that fucking took over the world.
And have you seen the clips of him like in his home country, like stadiums?
Yes,
loving that song.
And it is bizarre.
And he's leaning in. We were just talking about this on another episode about how like he knows it's a one hit wonder.
Yeah, he does.
And he's still. We've all seen that clip where he like flies airborne on the stage and just goes into. And he's like, I know what I am.
Yeah,
hell yeah,
let's go. And you gotta love that. And
I love it.
Would anyone in America have touched that shit? I don't think so.
Look, a more American example that I'm in love with right now is Limp Bizkit coming back.
That is so strange to me. Like I
so
can't believe
strange.
it.
How much younger are you than me?
Not much.
Okay, so
but like, okay, let me just tell you
but
this.
I'm saying that,
on MTV
that wasn't
2,
popular when you were in high school or anything, right?
I think it was like middle school.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what I remember of the MTV2 playlist that was on rotation at the time. So it was Nookie, System of a Down's Sugar, Korn, Falling Away from Me, or Falling Away from You, or
Falling Away from Me.
Okay. And then Kitty. Remember Kitty, that metal band?
That was like the first lesbian band, right?
Were they? Oh my god!
I don't know, but everybody said they were.
I was like in love with them. And then Tool and Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication.
Okay, I want to point out that that's why I think not the greatest generation of music, but one of the best, because those are all very different bands.
Seriously,
right?
And they're on the rotation.
Yeah, because it's like even in talking about weird people, right? Sugar, System of a Down. What's his name? Darren Malak. What's his last name?
I don't know his name.
Anyway, the guitarist for System of a Down,
Yeah.
Darren something. But even Sugar, it's like all of a sudden, like you say that, and I just remember those parts. Bump, 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 bump. The little
bump, bow.
And it's like that's not a challenging, hard, break your mind guitar part, but it's so at the time, it's like nobody played like that.
Nobody.
And then he'd come in with these huge metal riffs. And he always had just enough of this like hardcore metal, but then he would have these rhythms. You know, like he wouldn't just strum these big riffs like somebody like Pantera or something would. All of a sudden there'd be like, again, great bass player, great drummer, and he'd just have a simple riff where it'd be like dun 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 dun, and you're like, this fucking grooves, man. I thought we were listening to a metal band. What is this, dude? And then you'd go back into the bah, 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 hardcore shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was that time period. It's like people were like, it was almost kind of like a different 60s movement of music where it's like, let's just get strange. It was the first time people were going with, like, Korn was doing interesting effects pedals with,
God.
7-string guitars.
Okay, I saw this band last night, Babe Haven.
Okay. I haven't heard of it.
You got to check them out.
Okay.
They're really great. So it's like four girls in a band. I think they're from North Carolina or something.
Okay.
The first song that they played was so inspired by Korn. It was. I was like, my jaw was on the ground. I was like, I can't. Like, I know nostalgia is like a big thing right now.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how dialed in on the 90s nostalgia people were. And it was like the guitar part was just like Falling Away from Me.
Okay.
And I don't know, they were great. They were awesome. And they did it in their own way. I'm not saying like they ripped them off or anything like that. It was just really cool to see that shit is back. Well, and like you said, like Limp Bizkit's back.
Well, what I loved about Limp Bizkit, even growing up, was like Wes Borland, the guitar player.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen his whole shtick and his get up? Like
his outfits and his contacts and crazy, dude. Yeah.
But that was an artist going like, fuck it. I want to express this weird stuff and have fun with it. And it's like, he's older than me, and when he comes out on stage, he still commits to a whole new extravagant, ridiculous thing. And then to his credit, none of his guitar parts are mind-blowing, but they are all very Limp Bizkit guitar parts.
Yeah.
There's
a signature.
You never hear anybody playing like Wes Borland necessarily, and he does a lot of interesting, weird things where you're like, that's all I want is like, give me your version of what you feel like guitar playing is. And that's great.
I love that.
Yeah, and
I want that from all bands.
That's why I'm very excited.
Who are trying to do shit.
Well, and like they didn't come back like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like they weren't coming back trying to be like too cool or like remember us, we were the shit. It's like they're leaning into making fun of themselves, but at the same time, when it comes time to playing the song, like when you see the performances, it's like, oh no, they're still giving like 100% on these performances and playing the songs exactly how you want to hear them. They're still like, you still see like, oh yeah, they're like top level performers. They never dropped that. And it's funny because it makes you realize some of these new performers where it's like, hey, y'all need to get your shit together a little bit. This old band that you guys are all shitting on saying is a hack band is coming out
crushing
here,
it,
dominating this festival.
Yeah.
Coming out wearing a cowboy hat, pretending to be a cowboy and destroying you with his cheesy songs. And I love it, man. I've always enjoyed that band when I was younger. Same with Korn. And I was always surprised how much hate they got later. Because when you were living in the moment with it, it was like, this is
great.
It's pretty
break stuff.
Very original stuff, you know? And it's like, there's a point where like you get in your 30s and you're like, I can't really sing this loud in my car anymore where I like take myself seriously because I'm not like, that was our like our teenage angst. And it's like, well, I'm pretty good now. I'm past the angst part, you know? So, but it still takes
I have adult angst.
Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't, you know, I listen to Sturgill Simpson now. Like, but when it comes on, you're still like,
you might hate me.
I
got to take a piss.
Oh, you know what? We can actually wrap this up, man. We've been going for a little while.
Okay.
I could keep talking to you longer, but let's go ahead and
seriously, I could.
Yeah, but we'll just bring you back on sooner. And so anyway, at this point in the future, we've got the new single Home out.
Yes, sir.
Both versions?
At this point in the future, they should both be out.
And then what else you want to plug before you get out of here?
We'll be dropping a series of 7 singles over the next year.
Oh, perfect.
Leading up to a vinyl album. So this is going to be a big Phantomelo heavy year for us. So.
Finally settled in. Now we get to crank it all out.
That's right.
The last thing I want to ask you is just give me a quick, like 1 or 2, maybe 3 if you want. What are some local bands, artists, whoever, that you feel like more people should be checking out?
Okay, definitely. I love what Labels is doing out of Fort Worth.
Okay.
They are brilliant. Of course, Mean Motor Scooter. I love their new shit. It's actually very Limp Bizkit heavy.
They sent me a track.
It was good.
With no lyrics, and I was like, huh.
Yeah, right. I think that's the one. Yeah. And then who else? I'm gonna stick with those 2.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with those 2. Those are the ones that like speak to me right now.
Well, one final cheers. Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, I guess Moonstone. Have you heard of Moonstone?
No, but I'll check it out.
Check them out. They're actually like. Do you like hardcore?
Mm-hmm.
I think
if it's good, I like it all.
I think you'll like them, and they're making some waves. So props to Moonstone. But cheers, Pacifico, and cheers to you, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.